Call the meeting of the Charlotte City Council to order. Roll call, please.
Fullerton,
Here.
Christensen,
Present.
Chin. Chin.
Here.
Brummett,
Here.
Scott,
Here.
Rodriguez. Present. Newman.
Here.
You have a quorum.
No council members absent, so we can move on to the invocation by Pastor Easterline.
Good to be here again this evening. As we're gathering this evening in the safety and peace of this room, it's entirely fitting, I think, that we pause for a second to remember why we're here one day later than normal. All right? We're remembering Memorial Day. And it's very easy for local government to be consumed by the immediate day-to-day work of our municipality, and it's very important work. Zoning, budgets, public works, right? But beneath every decision we make and beneath every ordinance that we pass, there is a profound and I think often overlooked foundational responsibility and privilege because we have the freedom to govern ourselves in a safe and peaceful republic. We should give thanks for that. Memorial Day, it's not just the official start to summer, and it's not just a day to thank our living veterans, although we do honor them deeply, especially on Veterans Day. But Memorial Day is a solemn, sacred day of remembrance dedicated specifically to the over 1 million Americans who laid down their lives in service to this country and to us. Sacrifice. It's really the bedrock of our nation's story. And so we should pause and take some time just to reflect and think about what those men and women gave up. Right? They left behind careers. They left behind their favorite pastimes. They, most importantly, they said goodbye to spouses, children, parents, often never to return. And they didn't just sacrifice their lives, they sacrificed all of the ordinary, beautiful moments of living that we get to enjoy every single day. Holy Scripture speaks very powerfully about this kind of devotion. In John 15:13, Jesus himself says, "Greater love has no one than this, to lay down one's life for one's friends." Now that verse is obviously pointing directly to the ultimate sacrifice of Christ on the cross, but it also, I think, beautifully describes the hearts, the souls of our American service members. Each one of them stepped into the gap, into danger, into fear, into battle, so that you and I, so that we and the citizens of this community, that we could live in safety and security. And they laid down all of their todays and their tomorrows for us. I think it's fit and right that we should honor them and ask ourselves how. How do we keep faith with those who paid the ultimate price? There's a famous general, Patton, George Patton. He observed, "It is foolish and wrong to mourn the men who died. Rather, we should thank God that such men lived." And for us, as the city members and city leaders, thanking God for our lives, or for their lives rather, means honoring their sacrifice through our continued service. So thank you for your service. Thank you for your service. We honor them not just with our words on a Monday in May, or Tuesday as the case may be, right? But through the integrity, the courage, and the selflessness that we bring to this council chamber, because every time that we put aside our personal agendas and work for the common good, every time we listen to a frustrated neighbor with patience and love, and every time we govern the city with responsibility and fairness and dedication, we are building up and maintaining a community that's worthy of their sacrifice. So again, thank you. Let's please bow our heads in prayer. Gracious and almighty God, in honor of this past Memorial Day, we bow our heads in the profound gratitude for the brave men and women who courageously laid down their lives for the cause of freedom. And we thank you for their unmatched courage and their deep love for their country. Lord, we especially ask you comfort all the Gold Star families and the loved ones of our fallen troops. Please wrap them in your peace and your strength. And as we focus on and return to the business of this city, please grant this council wisdom and unity and a spirit of true service. May the memory of our fallen heroes continually inspire us to lead with integrity, to protect the vulnerable, and to work together for the good of every citizen in our community. In your holy name we pray. Amen. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for being here tonight. All rise for the pledge, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one Thank you. That brings us to approval of minutes. We'll do the May 11th regular city council meeting minutes first. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any corrections or additions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Minutes are approved. May 14th, special council meeting minutes. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Moved and seconded to approve them. Is there any corrections or additions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to public comment, and we welcome anyone who would like to come to the podium, give us your name and address, and you have 5 minutes. Obviously, in general, the council doesn't have talk between the people. You're welcome to speak on any item you like to speak on. So the podium is open if you just come forward and you can sit there. You stand over there if you want. Okay, we'll have to make sure that mic works. There you go.
Thank
Go
you.
ahead.
My name is Sasha Peel. I live at 1039 North Cochrane Avenue. I'm here because of the special assessment that you guys have proposed from the moving of funding from the fire department. So I'd like to start with my family history a little bit. My uncle was Charles Stoltz. He served in World War II and came back and served on the fire department for a long time, and he inspired my uncle, Brian Stoltz, to serve on the fire department as well. Fortunately, they're not here with us today, but I think they would be pretty appalled at what's going on. So I'd like to say in 2021, you guys had moved funding from the fire department to go to other emergency services and their needs. And now today you guys are asking the city to put forth that bill. And I don't think that that's quite fair that you're asking us to pay for that bill when we're already paying taxes. And instead we're getting new things like roads that are not necessary over on High Street by the elementary school. There was 5 roads that were just redone that didn't really need to be redone, and that didn't include High Road, which obviously should probably be redone. It's patched together pretty bad. So I was just, like I said, I don't think that it's right that you guys are asking for money when you guys can rearrange the budget again and give them the funding that they actually deserve. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Nicole Christensen, Eaton County Commissioner for District 12. I wanted to give a shout out to the VFW and the American Legion, to our fire department, to our band director, his name is Jeff, but I cannot pronounce his last name and I'm not gonna kill it. To the band itself, they did a phenomenal job. The band boosters, all parents involved, everybody that watched and walked in yesterday's Memorial Day Parade, it was the biggest turnout Courtney said that we have had in many, many years, and I was very glad for that. I am a little disappointed. I'm probably a little more than disappointed, but we'll call it that. Our superintendent told the students that they could not ride the Charlotte buses to get to the parade. They had to show up at the school and ride some form of transportation because they couldn't take the uniforms out of the building and have them at home prior to the event, but they couldn't ride the buses. So Potterville buses provided the transportation to get the kids to the parade yesterday. So kudos to them. Furthermore, when the kids got to the school to put the uniforms on, they couldn't put the uniforms on because the roof yet again is leaking and it has gotten the uniforms soaking wet. So they had new uniforms to put on. I know that it's not a city issue when it comes to the schools, but I'm very disappointed that our school system is wanting so much money all the time and new bonds and millages and everything else, and they can't fix the roof. It continues to be an issue, and I think it needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I have done some investigating.
Could we get your name and address?
Oh, I'm sorry, my name is Joe Bulmer, and I live at 774 West Seminary Street here in Charlotte.
Thank you.
The last millage that was asked for, that was in November, and we shot it down. And I don't know why you'd be coming at us again for that same exact thing, millage. And it says operating costs. Well, operating costs last time, which I'm sure it is again this time, it says the sheriff and the prosecuting offices. Well, guess what? I have learned that freedom of information, the Eaton County is just top-heavy. The salaries are top-heavy. The prosecutor makes $259,519.68. I don't think his office needs any more money. And if they do, why not take it out of his pocket? The sheriff, $117,373.92. That's expensive. It says here that almost all of our administrators and stuff are making over $100,000. Then, when you go back down, it says the median household in income in this area is only $78,000. Of course, I'm on Social Security, so it's a lot less than that. Anyway, plenty more are sitting on a fat government check at 6 figures, like a telecommunication position showing over $200,000. No, it says, we said no to the tax hikes last November, and guess what? No means no. The gas prices, the groceries, they are astronomical. And they were even more now than they were back in last November when we voted it down. No, we don't need another millage.
Thank you.
Dave Barnett, 633 Forest Street. I was kind of hoping to get some clarity on this, but apparently you guys don't talk to us. I've had that discussion with you guys before. I guess I will be going door to door to get you guys to change your mind, and we'll get something done about it. I'm a little sick of that. You have the opportunity to talk to us and answer our questions. We've already had this discussion. We'll get some things changed. You guys did the citizens of Charlotte dirty with that last fire millage where you took the money out of the fire department, and you did a special assessment just for the fire department. And I don't remember which one of you guys was. They said they asked that same question the last time I was here at that meeting, and you said they said the city said that was the only way they could get it to pass. You know, I mean, you guys are technically stealing my money at gunpoint because I'm not giving it to you voluntarily. And, you know, if I don't pay you, you're going to send a guy with a gun to come and take my property from me. So you guys got to know when you can do stuff and when you can't. And you guys don't have a revenue problem, you have a spending problem. Because you get 3% on property taxes every year. Plus, if a house sells, it goes way up, and you get more than 3%. So you got to know the difference between a want and a need, and you got to know, you know, how to spend money. It's not your money to spend, most of it. It's other people's money, and they don't want to give you anymore. So it's something to consider when you're doing special assessments. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, my name is Caleb Mason. I live at 116 South Clinton Street. I did write a letter. I was on vacation, and when I came back, I opened up a random letter from the city, and it said that there was a bill that was passed and to bring a letter in. So I'm going to just read my letter real quick. I know you guys all have a copy of it right now because I believe she printed one off. And then I do have a couple comments that I had heard as well. I said, this letter is an objection to the special assessment, district assessment possibility against the people of the city of Charlotte. Something like this should be voted on in an election versus being voted on by city officials. The city council should not be raising taxes with it already have been voted on, as it was already expressed already, and it can be voted upon again by the people of the city of Charlotte. And if such taxes are to be communicated to the people, they need to be voted upon by a normal or special election to at least give the people an opportunity to vote correctly with the correct information on how their money is going to be used and effectiveness of every dollar being spent. In this letter that was dispersed to the people of Charlotte, it states that it was adopted, and the first installment will be in July of this year and again in December, raising people's taxes twice in 1 year without them being able to take a look or vote on said assessment. And then I wrote down, in a growing climate where people in the United States are distrusting the government, or where the people of the people that have been voted upon into public office, to do something like this is the opposite of what people are hoping their officials would be as their representation. Adapting an assessment such as this without proper information is basically more and more the same thing, and very shady when it comes into a letter like that when I came back from vacation. Place this in the hands of people as a special assessment for them to vote on. This year, we have a midterm vote, which may not get as many people out there as you like, but it gives an opportunity for them to vote on it versus just 7 people. And I just wrote down a couple things. I've came to a couple different meetings in the past where I've seen other things raised, and we've talked about them, and we've had some good discussions. One thing was water quality a couple years ago. One thing was where they were trying to move a mayoral election within the city council instead of putting it on a vote. And I think you guys did the right thing by making sure that went to a vote instead of just moving it within the city council. But taxes have increased every year. My insurance, since I've been here for the last 6 years, every year has gone up considerably. It's over double when I got here, and my house value has barely risen. My roads in front of my house are pretty bad and drivable. We're taking different routes to get to my house, just because the roads are getting so bad in front of my house on Clinton Street. But I do agree with that we need to have, better police, fire, and water, all those different things, but we just need to make sure that we are, as you guys had said, putting money a little bit better into better spending, because I think that we have definitely do pay some good taxes here in Charlotte, and we love our city, but we have concerned citizens, so thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Owen Whitkoff, 308 Plymouth Drive. I do not have a speech written out, but I have some comments to make. First of all, what has every department in the city council and in the city operations done to make things more efficient? It's a thing called value analysis. Every function you do in every department, maybe this is one place you could cut back. I'm not against the taxes and all that. I mean, I love living in America, and you're going to do that, you're going to pay taxes. But the spending is out of order sometimes, and sometimes you got to be more transparent. But if you check, I mean, you want us to give you money, not you, but you're also residents, but what are you doing to help us not give you money? Okay? And for example, and again, that's a street talk a little bit here now, and this goes probably to Tiger and his dad, who's former fire chief, about transparency. I understand that we make a lot of calls, 911. I would like to know the procedure for 911, because I see a lot of times where both stations go to the call. Does it have to happen? You have, what, priority 1, priority 2, whatever, need, no need? I think that we need to know, are we doubling up on the reports on how many calls you make a year? If both stations send a truck to 911, is that 1 call or 2 calls? Just 1. Just 1? Okay, thank you for dispelling that, because a lot of stuff's out there that isn't saying that, but we don't know that. But getting back to efficiency, take a look at every function that you do daily, weekly, whether you make 2 or 3 trips between offices or whatever it might be, but see if you can't cut back somewhere to pick up so you don't have to hit us with a special assessment, which we're tired of. And I appreciate knowing that fact, because Kevin, you and I have talked before, and I voted for that station over there because it's gonna be that station covers that side, and this station covers this side. And it isn't happening that way. It's not happening that way?
I live out there by the new one, and, I watch, the trucks come out, they go down the barn, go all the way down, and I'm thinking, why don't they just use the barn down here? You know, it didn't make any sense.
This is,
Mr. Whitcoff?
Yes, sir.
You have the floor.
you,
You go ahead and talk.
but to confirm, she sees, I see that, we hear it, maybe I don't see it, but you gotta make some clarity on this, let us know how it operates. Tell us what happens on a 911 call. Who makes the call? Who says you need the fire department there? You know, some little old lady down on Sensations fell down, couldn't breathe. 2 fire trucks go show up, police show up. I mean, does it have to be that way? I understand safety and concern, all that, but sometimes there might be some spot where you can be more efficient. I was in public and public education at one time and private industry. In the private industry, we watch every penny we had to spend or could spend. In public education, we had a budget, and I got called in one time because I didn't spend enough for travel on my budget. Because if you don't spend the money, the ensuing year, you won't get more budget, and it doesn't elevate it. And I hope that's not the case here. But it does happen in government, and you know it, and I know it. So I just want to make sure there's transparency, make sure that you're doing it efficient. And by the way, I want to compliment Stephanie over here. I think she's doing some, is she here? There she is. I think that the city overall is looking better. And I just like to see it keep it get better. But the roads are better, and there's some eyesores, so on and so forth. So I stop right there. But please take a look at how you function and let the public know what you're doing. Because we sat down there and talked at the coffee shop and we're saying, well, the fire department did this and did that, and you didn't. But we need to rectify that situation and have transparency. Thank you.
As most of the people, and I will state my name, Stephen Hansen, 332 Pleasant Street, with my wife, Marcia. When I've attended these meetings before, I have heard that you listen to the voters. And as most of the people that are objecting said, we turned it down when you called it special limitations, and you wanted to vote so you didn't have to hold votes, any millage votes anymore. I remember Meridian Township recently had a lawsuit against them for a class action suit stating that special assessments is illegal because that is a millage increase without voting for it by the people in the area. Now, you're just waiting for something to happen to where they can't pay the bills anymore, or somebody comes up with the ideal that it's worth taking to court. What I am disagreeing about is everywhere I have worked, I have seen you're capable of putting GPS locators in your vehicles, and you know where your workers are at and what they're doing, and you can account for them and how they're working. I have watched a street sweeper run 15, 20 miles an hour back and forth, that Elgin street sweeper can't pick up because I worked the campus for 17 years on hard surface, and I know it can't pick up at that speed. It's supposed to spray water, it's supposed to do other things. I don't know what all your workers were doing, but last year when I asked Brandon whether they were going to be open, you closed the leaf dump. And it wasn't going to be open Saturdays until the right person complained, and it says it's right on your board, it will be open on Saturdays. And that's what it is in Charlotte, is the right person has to say, you can't do this. I was told you weren't going to do it any more Saturdays, and I did not go. And then I found out that, yes, the right person has to call. We have a school that's still sitting there 30 years after it was sold, and we were told when that was passed, and the new school was funded after 6 votes of the people saying we can't afford $120 million for a school and football field. and another 100 and some million after you found out you needed a place for a theater and a swimming pool. And every cost increase has been, oh, we didn't think about a heater for the swimming pool. The one for the Theater of Arts was going to take care of the swimming pool. The GPS on your vehicles has to align with, and the last place I worked, MSU, they could check to see if it's running or not. Are they doing anything? We see every day police officers sitting watching people run red lights. Is it too dangerous to stop people doing 70 miles an hour in front of businesses that our cars are pulling out of when they're supposed to be doing 45? Are you waiting for something drastic to happen? It's happened. It's everyday accidents, every single day. I work with younger people who said they don't have to anymore. They want the public to pay for their education, their student loans, their health care. They want them to pay for this, and they're getting a degree. And who's going to pay for it? They want jobs that they're not going to be charged every day after they get a degree from the taxpayers, paying for their student loans, paying for their health care. And I think sometimes when you come here, you hear we don't want to seem like an unfriendly community. And you don't want to seem like you're not helping people understand why you can do 70 miles an hour in a school zone. Why you have to wait for something to happen that, just as the last man said, is a straw too much. Why is it an invisible? We just recently saw a street view car with cameras all over. Olivet hired a new coach that's going to be their video coach, teaching how to use drones, teaching how to use other equipment, and everybody's going to get trained to sit and use video equipment rather than actually out there. When you do away with something you no longer need according to your taxes, do you take that vehicle out of service? Or do you still account for it as running and using gas and needing an officer? The last time we had a meeting with the sheriff, because he wanted to talk about safety, I went to it, and all he wanted to talk about is more money because prosecutors were making more money than his department was. I said, what about him speeding?
Time.
Thank you for your comments.
My name is Jan Bruce. I live at 2428 East Vermontville Highway, which is not in the city, but I'm responsible for my 92-year-old mother, Laurelyn Gray, who lives at 142 Canterbury Drive. It currently takes 5 months of her income to pay her taxes now. 2 months ago, I was here asking about this SAD. You kindly answered all of my questions, but nobody mentioned the fact that it will now take 10 months of her income to pay her taxes. She has been in her home for 35 years. If this continues, you are pushing her out of her home, and it is not worth the pain and anguish. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else for public comment? Go ahead. Come on.
Ross Ulrich, 804 West Shepherd Street, Charlotte, Michigan. I would greatly appreciate if I could get some answers, but that's not the policy of dialogue, because I'd like some clarity.
Yeah, the dialogue is not allowed because we never would get anything done. So that's
Okay.
set up that way. You may hear answers to some of these questions from everybody.
I was trying to listen and get the background before I stood up. So if I'm understanding things correctly, the council has the authority to pass a tax when it's deemed necessary without a millage. If you could just do yes or no, that would be greatly appreciated. Yes, you have the authority to do that.
Yes.
Okay, okay. And it's been talked about in the past that the last millage in November was not passed. So I'm understanding that something different has taken place since November to now in order for the council to have said, we need to do this. And that would be a no, thank you. So nothing's changed. I would encourage that it go back to the voters for a millage. I think that would be the proper thing to do. And I'm not sure the legality. It may stipulate that you have the authority to do it. Personally, I could voice just about what has been voiced in the past by everyone so far, where our incomes are not going up and everything else is going up. If there was a way that I could see with clarity that this was a immediately necessary thing to do, I would encourage you to do that. But at this point, I haven't heard that or understood it. In 40 years of working, I went through a couple of years where I didn't get a raise. And I just had to live with that and make ends meet. So it would be my encouragement that you, as a group, would see the same thing. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Anybody else in the room for public comment, which is, you can talk about anything. Anyone online?
Jody Pruden.
Jody Pruden, if you're online, you can go ahead.
Thank you very much. First of all, thank you for having Zoom working again. I greatly appreciate it. First, I wanted to make a comment on.
Jody, could you give us your address?
Oh, I'm sorry, 309 East Shepherd.
Thank you.
My first comment is going to be the process in which took place with the choosing of our new city manager. I'm a little concerned about it. I'm not going to say anything specific. I voiced my opinion to a couple of people. I am surprised that we are not bringing that to the table tonight as well. And I hope that the concerns that I had haven't come to fruition. I hope that you will get information from department heads as well as from the public on what they thought and go from there. Second, I would like to just say that I attend these meetings, or at least attend them online on a very regular basis. I very rarely miss one. And I find it helps me understand exactly what's going on and knowing what's going on within the city versus what's going on with in the county. Just to make sure that the checks and balances are in place, and then when there is spending that is questionable, that it is brought up, and I do get answers, and I encourage everyone else to do the same thing. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I do have one more. I don't have a name. It has a phone number, so they should be able to.
Okay, so somebody else online, go ahead and speak and give us your name and address. All we have is a phone number.
My name is Amy Chauvin. Sorry, what was that?
Go ahead. Give us your name and address, please.
Amy Chauvin, 324 North Sheldon in Charlotte.
Okay.
And
go ahead.
I'm largely speaking up because there's just a lot I don't know about the special assessment, and I saw that there is no way to appeal unless you spoke out against it at the hearing. And so I'm just making sure that before my questions are answered, I present that if this is a raise on taxes, which I've been told it isn't, but if it is, I oppose it. But also I know that history, there's a tendency for taxes to go up. and for government to not have much incentive to stop taxes. And so the language of that it shall remain in effect until terminated by the city council. I just was wondering if it would be wiser to have a deadline so that there is continued reason to assess whether people are being wise with taxpayers' money and if the need is still there. And that I would prefer that things like this come from the general budget, as if my understanding is correct, these services serve outside, they cover the entire city, but only do they extend beyond and affect those who aren't being taxed? And if that is the case, then the money should come from the general taxes so that everyone can contribute to services that they're receiving. But a lot of this is, I'm not sure what the process is, so I just want to present these ideas in the case that they do apply.
Okay, thanks for your comments. Anyone else online?
No.
Point of order
Yes.
or inquiry. If a person didn't use their 5 minutes, could they come back up to ask a question, or is there
They'll be
just one?
They can only come up just once during public comment. There's a public comment at the end also, but there'll also be other times for public comment about specific items that we have on the agenda tonight, which is the special assessment and the obsolete property rehabilitation district. Those will all be separate public hearings, but this public comment is for anybody who wants to talk about anything. So I'm not going to shut anybody off from anything. Either place.
Name's Scott Thompson, 316 East Harris Street. Moved here September about 3 years ago. The very first year, January, they reassessed taxes. I bought at the height of when everybody was outbidding each other to buy houses. Sorry, a little sick. My house was on the market for 5 months. I bought it for $155,000. That very next year, they told me my house was over $300,000. I addressed them about it, and they said that there's nothing they could do except for reassess it the following year. That's what we did, and it's gotten lower, but every year after that, it has increased. So I don't know if it's corruption, I don't know if it's greed, but to take a $155,000 house and 3 months later, at the height of sales, when people are outbidding each other, and say that this house should have gone for $300,000 plus is absolutely insane. You look around Charlotte, and you have houses crumbling, you have houses in bad condition. Higher taxes isn't going to help that. The house right behind me looks nice on the outside, completely gutted on the inside. Somebody got it foreclosed for $10,000, flipped it for $70,000, and now it's on sale again. Nobody's going to touch that house. Once you realize what the taxes are here, people run. So instead of creating an environment that brings wealth into the community so that the community can thrive off of other people that have money, you're pushing wealth away. And the only people that actually can make somewhat of a stance here are your investors. And so you're seeing houses like mine that are divided into 3, 4 different apartments, and people are living in very small situations so that they can have their rent at affordable cost. Raising the taxes is the easiest no-brain thing to do. There has to be a better way. There has to be a way of going outside the box, getting creative, and figuring out how to bring more money into this community. It is a good community. I've enjoyed my time here. I think that Charlotte has a lot to offer, but if taxes keep going the way they are, there isn't going to be a community. This is going to be a wasteland. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, at this time then, we will close the public comment. And just so all of you know, there'll be public comment in just a few minutes on those two things. Again, the council won't be doing anything but taking in information. Later on in the agenda, in the business part of the agenda, if you look on your second page, that's where you'll see the resolutions to create the special assessment district role and the obsolete property district. So that'll be actually where the council will be able to talk back and forth from your comments, if you can just last that long. I don't know how long it'll take to get there, but. So with that, we'll end that, and we have approval of the agenda. And I can, right now, we have a couple of things that the manager messed up on the date, correct? And he put it on this agenda, but we need to remove from number 9, we need to remove D and C and D. From number 9, those are public hearings on construction code, public hearing on administrative order resolution. Those are actually scheduled for June the 8th. Isn't that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
June 8th. They just got on the wrong date. On number 12, the business agenda, that means we need to remove D and E.
That's correct.
So D and E come off the business agenda because those are the second reading and adoption of the Board of Appeals and the second reading and adoption of the construction code ordinance. Those will be scheduled for June the 8th. There's a time frame. That's why it had to be done that way. We have a certain amount of time has to be left for notice, and our manager wanted to push it through quicker than we could, correct?
I haste to try and wrap up as much as I could in the short time I've got here. Yes, that's my excuse.
Okay. So that's why those will come off the agenda. Now, other corrections, additions, or questions on the agenda? Mr. Rodriguez.
As a separate matter from the other two that most likely we will agree to remove, I also wish to remove number E, 9E.
9E, which is the presentation from Clearflow Management Platform.
Yes, sir.
Is there a discussion about that?
If I can give reasoning why.
If I may, Mayor, just a little background. Contained in the report was a request for funding. I'm not asking council to take any action. I think all I'm looking for tonight is to give you a presentation regarding what the product is, how it would help with the Public Works Department going forward with the technology that exists, and it's pretty common in a lot of communities. So it's only a presentation. I'm not asking for any council action to approve. So it's a lot of money, and I think it's best for my end of it just to do the presentation and then decide another day whether you want to proceed with it. That's my intent with that.
So what's the council's wishes? Mr. Rodriguez?
I mean, at the end of the day, it's our job to determine if we're going to spend the money on something. So in a sense, it's our job to evaluate this. And I would be happy with a presentation, but I personally do not like prices being included. It should have just been a presentation and not a price. I struggled to see how it follows the purchasing policy, and I have concerns around purchasing of a lot of softwares these days. And I have no clue if those have been implemented, if they've been used. I can't imagine they have all been implemented in such a short period of time. So that's why I said to remove it for those reasons.
Council, what do you want to do?
I'll second his motion
To remove it?
to remove it.
Well, let's take it as a separate item then. So your motion is to remove it, and there's a second, and we'll leave the agenda as is right now, and we'll act on this motion. Okay? So now we have a motion on the floor to remove the presentation of Clearflow Management Platform. Is there discussion?
I've got a point of Discussion, yes. I haven't looked real closely at it, as far as that goes, but the manager approaching something like that, and then the public just coming to the podium just a few minutes ago, telling us on how we could be a little more streamlined in what we do. There is no way of knowing what we don't know on how much more efficiently we can work. Maybe it's misnamed. Maybe ClearFlow means make it more complicated, more challenging, and spend more money. Or maybe it's an opportunity that we have to try to streamline some of the things we do now. So I think that I would, from this discussion standpoint, if we have enough information from the presentation that the manager has for us to review individually, then we can do that. And then one of us could then bring it up, or we can move further from there. But if it has an opportunity to make things more streamlined, maybe reduce cost, then that's not a bad thing. So just from that standpoint.
Mr. Chin.
Yeah, I'm supporting this motion just for this discussion because, again, we're looking at spending over $100,000 without any bids once again. And as everyone on this council knows, I'm vehemently opposed to continuing to find reasons not to put out competitive bids on a number of projects. And again, this one, I just need to understand because I didn't see anything where there's a bid tabulation. There's nothing that the council received in regards to a sole source purchase. So I think we've got the cart before the horse on this, and we need to get that resolved. And then once we do, we then have presentation. But just to decide to give ClearFlow the floor in front of the council before we can get a resolution on some of the issues that have been brought up regarding this, to allow this to happen and just postpone it until a later date when we've got more information.
You guys have anything else? Mr. Newman?
I was just, kind of with Councilman Brummett, looking at our comments that we've had tonight on being more transparent, more efficient. Looking at the information we have in the packet and trying to understand what the system is and how it can, possibly help us. Why we would turn down an education opportunity to learn about this system, even if we had to, go out for competitive bids, and that sort of thing. At least that would give us, some baseline of knowledge, as to what this program does, what they're looking to do, and, help us as a council understand the requirements that the DPW is looking for, in a management program such as this. So I utilize a CMMS program at my place of employment for organizing maintenance and facilities and inspections and all of that stuff, and it is so much easier to have reminders already set up for you on what's coming due and those type of things. So I just would look forward to the opportunity to hear and be educated on what this system does and what the DPW director is looking to accomplish.
Mr. Christensen, you have something?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. When I read the agenda, when I received it, I was looking at that, and that was my immediate thought was, okay, we're going to have a presentation and we're going to be talking about purchasing something, but I don't see anything in the agenda that shows where we're going to discuss any sort of purchasing. It's just a presentation, which I believe, based on what I read, will give us an idea of what the product is, why we think or why they think we need it. For me, it gives me an opportunity, it gives me a couple weeks at least, at a minimum a couple weeks, to have a chance to think about this and maybe even reach out and get a little more clarity on it. So if it does happen to come before us, You know, everyone knows we have a purchasing policy. There's a process to follow, and if they decide to put that in front of us, I'm sure that policy would be followed. So I'm all about the presentation. Thank you.
Yeah, I understand both sides. I'm for the presentation because this is something I'd like to know more about. On the one hand, I understand the spending issue, but I must say I'm a little surprised, as a guy who used to sell manufacturing software, that I'm not looking at 4 different vendors, you know, and then we decide, you know, which one of the 4, you know, after presentations from each. I'm surprised by the sole source, but not by the presentation.
Okay.
Like, why are we only hearing from one person? Or one?
Maybe I think we're going to end up with a vote of looking at the presentation, but let me put everybody to rest. We just discussed the purchasing policy 2 weeks ago.
Right.
We said we're going to do it by the book, correct? Everybody remember that? I agree. So there's no question about it. If we get something that's over $20,000, we're going to do a sealed bid, and the clerk is going to send the bids out, and the clerk is going to get the bids and open them. That's what we said. The only other way around that is a sole source. And if it's a sole source, then we have to have the department head come to the city council and ask for that before any bids are taken. So the part of it that's in your packet, the piece of paper that the DPW director wrote up, we're not going to act upon. That's not, actually, it would be against the purchasing policy. And if we're against the purchasing policy, any official or any worker, employee of the city is civilly or criminally involved. So therefore, I certainly wouldn't be in favor of it because I don't want to be civilly, criminally against our purchasing policy. It's going to be done right now. And, you know, Mr. Chin, he's argued this for how many years now? And I think we finally got to the head of it last time. It's going to be done right, or we're not going to do it. I don't know how else to say it. So if we want to listen to a presentation, I have no problem with that.
Right. Then I'm confused about the protest.
The what?
Then I'm confused about the protest being based on any money whatsoever, or any lack of.
It's based on the piece of paper that was in your packet requesting us to approve $119,000.
Right, but we
not
made
gonna do
that
that.
clear when we
gonna
started
do
with this. Right, we made that clear already. That's why I'm confused about the protest.
So, and maybe Mr. Rodriguez will change his mind about how he wants to. Mr. Brum, you have something quick?
Yeah, just real quick. So I appreciate the fact that Mr. Rodriguez brought it up because then it allows us to be transparent and to view the fact that we are here to make decisions. Now, if for some reason someone wanted to move forward tonight, then it would be our obligation to vote it down. The fact that we're actually speaking on this and we're able to discuss it because we got to that point through the proper process, now we can go ahead and vote on this. And if people vote whatever they vote, then we'll move forward. But I totally agree that we have beaten the process of the purchase policy. However, we do have to speak to the fact that there are certain times when certain products are only available for certain places. In this particular case, maybe there is somewhere else. But if this is the fix for a problem that we have, it may be the need for us to do that. But we don't even, it's like having a need for a security system and then going, oh, well, I'm just going to buy this. Well, you first identify we have a need. We have a need possibly for efficiency. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak again.
Okay, and we just need to make sure that we're all clear that if there's something over $20,000, it's a sealed bid. There are exceptions. One of them is if we're doing a purchase with another group of governments that's taking a bid. Another one is an emergency purchase, and the other one is a sole source. But even in order to do a sole source, that has to come to this council for approval to even go out before they take bids. Can't take bids before. Okay, it has to come here for a sole source approval, and in essence, you might as well do a sealed bid because it's just as faster. So, and that kind of clears things up. We're down to your motion. Your motion is to remove the Clear Flow Management Platform presentation from the agenda. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no.
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 The noes have it. So we will have a presentation on that part. That gets us back to, we're removing a 9 we're moving C and D, and number 12, we're moving D and E. Is there any other corrections to the agenda?
I want, on the consent agenda, do you want to do it now or wait until we get there?
You can do it now if you want.
Okay. I'd like to move the approval of claims and expenditures to the business agenda. I have a couple questions.
All right, we're going to make that 1A, which is in front of A, okay? Any other movement in the agenda or additions or corrections? Everybody clear on what we're voting on? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Those changes are made. And we'll cross this one out. That will put us down to a public hearing. So the next public hearing is for the creation of an obsolete property rehabilitation district. That public hearing is now open for comment. Anyone who would like to comment on that, please step forward, but it's got to be only about that specific item. Madam Clerk, is there anybody online with a comment?
Yes. I have Ryan Smith.
Who is it?
Ryan Smith.
Mr. Smith is the developer. He indicated
Oh.
he would be available for any questions via the Zoom.
Yeah, so we have Ryan Smith, a developer for that property down on South Cochran.
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay, thank you.
you can comment if you want. It's public comment.
Yes, I would like the opportunity to speak to the council, please.
Go ahead.
My name's Ryan Smith. I'm here representing Bees Floral LLC. I'm a real estate developer that's been hired to help with this project. And I just want to make clear that an obsolete property rehabilitation district and/or abatement does not lower the taxes that the city is receiving right now. So this project is to rehab an unused second floor. In order to cover the costs and make rents affordable, we need to apply for a grant from the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. And in order to receive funding from that program, the city must participate in the project in some manner. And so typically cities will participate by giving a tax abatement. And so that's what we're requesting a district creation for today. This is a two-step process. First, the district is created, and then later down the road, I will come forth with an actual application that's based on construction bids and so forth. So again, today is just to create the district so that we can come back later with hard figures. And again, the city, by approving a district and/or an abatement later down the road, will not have a lower tax base because of the abatement.
Okay, thank you for your comments. Anyone else online? Stop, right up.
You want me to restate my name and address?
Please.
Dave Barnett, 633 4th Street. I mean, for the common person that may be here for the first time, it might be a good idea to give a synopsis of what that is, because nobody's going to really know what that is. So you're asking for comment on something that really there's not a lot of information to be had.
Easily ask our city manager to fill you in, but yeah, get to the mic.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll just a brief case here is that what they're looking to do is to rehab the second floor to create two apartment units in there. But right now, at this point in time, that property has a tax base, and the future improvement will certainly add to it, but they use that as a leverage with the incentive, where it just freezes the tax base, if you will, at that amount that the city would receive from that county as well. But it's part of what's needed for a grant to go along with it, but you've got two more units in the downtown, and you're not losing any tax base as a result of it. That taxable value will remain at its current state during the term of the abatements. It's kind of an incentive that
If somebody else wanted to apply for the same thing, they'd have to go through the same process?
they would, but it has to be deemed to be functionally obsolete.
And this only relates to, give us the address again.
217 Cochran.
217 South Cochran. That's the building we're talking about, and they want to put apartments above. In order to do that, they need to get a obsolete district done, and that's what we're trying to do here.
It's only one property,
One property.
one property.
Go ahead.
Cooper Frost of 436 South Cochrane. I've got a couple comments. One to add to the tax abatement process. Typically, it's just for a specific period of time, and the incentive is to be able to allow for that development, and then essentially the city, once that abatement's gone, now it gets more taxable revenue, and it helps free money up for the developer to get that done. You know, if you look, and if you've ever talked to anyone, you look at all the buildings in our downtown that mostly go unused, right? And they are functionally abandoned. There's some properties I've heard that, you know, still have the coal bins out from the 30s and 40s in their upper floors, right, for the heating. And so they're functionally abandoned. The other thing I would point out is Ryan Smith from Alma. If you've ever been to Alma in the last like 5-10 years, he's done amazing work in densifying the downtown, bringing housing, bringing vitality to that community. And so it's amazing to see that there's a property owner in our town that's wanting to move forward with him. So if you get the chance, go check out Alma and see the work that he's done there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Caleb Mason, 116 South Clinton Street. I came from the Hastings area, and when I was down there, I was managing a couple different businesses, and they actually did some of the projects just like this, as you're shaking your head, and it was really good because it did bring more money, as Scott was saying earlier, bringing people into the community where we were able to maybe generate some more taxes at the current base that we have. But I would definitely say that it is a good opportunity, just as long as it's not coming out of the taxpayers' money to do the rehabs. And that's usually where they get the grants. And they did a beautiful job in the Hastings area, and as he was talking, Elma. So it's kind of a good thing if they can get the grants to put some stuff in there. But you obviously don't want to do lower budget housing, and then all of a sudden, next thing you know, they turn into the same thing. So.
Thank you. Any other public comments on the obsolete property rehabilitation district? If not, we'll close that public hearing. And we'll open a public hearing talking about emergency service and vehicle assessment role. Is there any comments? Now, obviously, I know you already commented, but you can do it again if you want.
Thank you for hearing me again. I'm going to use up every minute I can. Okay.
Just give us your name and address.
Sasha Peel, 1039 North Cochrane. As you heard earlier, a little bit about my family history and how we've worked in the fire department and whatnot. Back in 2021, I'd like to say again that funding was moved from the fire department and redistributed to other areas, and I think that you guys really should look at that again. I know that it's 5 years in the making, and you guys are asking for money 5 years later, but I'd also like to say that I've not had a raise in 3 years, and I make $15 an hour. And, you know, as to some of the other people who are in here, if you guys do pass this millage, you could be pricing a lot of people out of homes. That would take money ultimately off of your plate, and you wouldn't be able to recoup that money because, again, nobody's going to want to be coming into our town and spending more money on taxes because our tax rates are pretty high. And as I was sitting with this lovely gal over here who did some research, the prosecutor makes $259,519.68. That is way more than a person needs to have a livable wage. Meanwhile, we have people on the streets. We have people that can't hardly afford to buy a house. My sister is included in that. She works 2 jobs just to see an opportunity at possibly buying a house that will need a lot of rehab. So putting that tax in there could really put a lot of people out of homes. Please, please relook at that budget and see if we can go forward without that mill. We really are on hard times. And, you know, this is not just Charlotte, this is across the whole United States. We're seeing a huge increase in inflation, but not an increase in wages. And we are affected by this. Please look at it again. Thank you.
Can we clarify a couple things at this juncture? Are we
About this assessment?
Yeah. Like I think there's a.
You'll have to, if you're going to talk to them.
Yeah, I am.
Wait till we get to the resolution.
Okay.
When we get to the resolution, you'll be fine.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Cooper Frost, 436 South Cochrane. like the others in the room, can't say I'm thrilled about the tax increase, but I understand the complexities of managing the city and the services that we get. I'm hoping in the discussion that will come up is, I know, Mr. Fulton, you've spoken in the past, the impact of having such a good fire department has and the value that brings to lower insurance rates and how that costs. I know it's not one for one, but maybe speak to how that equates. I'd also like to clarify the November millage wasn't the city. The county prosecuting attorney is not the city. The county sheriff is not the city. While they're milling the same property, it's different boards of government and control. Thank you.
Thank you. Any online or comments?
Jody Pruden.
Jody Pruden, go ahead.
309 East Shepherd. And I just want to say that I am for this rewording of the special assessment, which was put in place several years ago. It is actually the reason that I am in favor of it is because it is simply making sure that the money is spent where it needs to be spent and not just for anything. So it's going to be better for all of us. And I know how much our stupendous fire department means to us. And for anybody who has friends and family who live out of the city and in Eaton County, you have no police coverage. So other than MSP, which may or may not happen when it needs to. So I want to support this. I want to have police and fire, and I want them to have the equipment that they need to make sure that we are taken care of. Thank you.
Thank you. No one else online?
No.
Last call for here in the room. Okay, we'll close the public hearing on the, what? I'm sorry.
You had a gentleman in a green there.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
I think it was last Saturday, and we've got a new 911 that alerts people of the danger that might be a coming tornado. My phone answering machine said probable fraud. I think you should look into how the new 911 is shown to the public as what that is being received as. I don't think I get that on message from the city clerk or from anybody else, but like I said, Myers just about shut down because they didn't know what to do when their power went out and came right back on after one lightning bolt. And then they got their warning to tell people to go home if they didn't feel safe. And we get warning at home that it's probable fraud because it's coming from Delta Township, is the 911 sending it. So again, I will reiterate that other millages are coming up for vote. Other millages constantly come up for vote. And I'm sure it's going to be for every department here because of the price of gas, price of this, price of that, price of everybody retiring. It's non-ending and it's never going to stop, no matter how much money you get.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we'll close that public hearing and we'll move on to a presentation by Clearflow.
Hello, thank you. My name is Mike Lewandowski, and I'm the COO of Clearflow. We are a SaaS company, software as a service. And what really, probably the biggest question is what separates us from other CMMSs solutions out there. I'm just going to provide an overview for you guys and then kind of the problems that we can solve for you guys. One of the things that we do is we integrate with your current GIS system. The city has put a ton of money in, probably since 2018, put money into their GIS system, making sure all the hydrants, valves, sewer mains, and so forth, all the infrastructure is within your GIS system. It's basically a stagnant map at that point. So that way you can, kind of like an atlas, you can find your way to be able to do it, but you can't do anything with it. What we do with ClearFlow is we integrate as a layer right within your current GIS system. So anytime that you update anything in your current GIS system, it updates in our system because we're just a layer that sits right in that. So we're a work order management system. We're also an asset management system as well. So it allows you to be able to, in 2018, they had a new law that was passed for the state that you had to have an asset management plan. Some sort of idea to be able to prioritize all the assets that you have with your utilities, water and your wastewater. Great idea, so that way you can make sure you have enough funding and then also make sure your rates are gonna take care of itself when you have to replace water mains, sewer mains, and so forth down the line. But what happened is those asset management plans come in a booklet about this big and nobody can do anything with that information. A lot of times what's happening now in talking, I've given a couple presentations to the group, and what's happening is when they go out and they flush hydrants, or when they go out, you have to have a valve turning program. It is required by the state of Michigan that you have a valve turning program. Right now, the guys are going out there, guys and gals are going out there turning valves, but they're not documented in anywhere. You have to document and be able to tell the state, otherwise you're gonna end up getting deficiencies. Your sewer cleaning is another thing. When you go out and you do a sewer main out in front of your house or out in the street, you need to document, hey, we clean this. What's the cleaning frequency on it? There's lots of frequencies that go with it. Sometimes it's 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 12 months, it doesn't matter. But it could be depending on what the pipe is actually made of, or it could be, hey, there is a restaurant that's dumping a bunch of grease downtown. You need to make sure that you're cleaning that every 3 months. Being able to visually be able to see that and have some sort of work order management system is vital to the success. If you're just doing it on a piece of paper, you're highlighting it, a customer calls in, they have a backup that's going into their house. You don't have a way to be able to say, hey, this is the last time that we've been here and cleaned this. I can tell you that we've done our due diligence the last 6 years of cleaning this. Right now, you probably, the only thing that you can show is this is the last date we did it. Nothing about historical data. So again, our solution sits right into your own GIS system, which is great as well. One of the biggest things that's different for us is because of that your information is your information. So as you're building this GIS system up, 5 years from now, when this contract is up, it's not proprietary to our company. It is your information. You're building your GIS. They're gonna be using this information 30 years from now. You guys just have a big contract to be able to replace all your water meters. There's a ton of information that goes into that. DSMI, where you're looking at the distribution system material inventory. You have to document that somewhere. You have to take pictures. It's nice to take pictures of where your water meters are. Knowing how old they are, that's your revenue that comes in. By the way, this is, there's a lot about taxes that was talked about, but funding for water, wastewater is by selling the commodity. So I want to make sure that everybody knows that here as well. But this gives you that transparency as well. As all these guys are doing all the work, which I know municipal workers, I should have mentioned too, I've been in the water, wastewater industry for about 30 years. I ran Zeeland BPW Water. I was the director there. Prior to that, I ran the water, wastewater, and the snowmelt system for Holland BPW. There's terrible legacy systems that are out there. They're outdated. They're from the 1990s. They don't utilize GIS at all. Everything that we have is also mobile on there, and nobody else also is offering anything on your vertical assets. So you have your treatment plant, right? You have lots of vertical assets, they're called. Anything that's above ground in a treatment plant. Being able to put that in GIS and have your asset registry, that's going to be needed to have your asset registry. Eagle is going to require you to be able to do that, but we came up with these tags. You can put these tags right on any asset, go up, be able to scan it with your phone. Any work order that's ever been done on that piece of equipment pops right up on your phone. Instead of trying to look in a filing cabinet somewhere for being able to look at the manuals. Nope, the manual is going to be right in the palm of your hand. Any previous maintenance that's been done, even by a third party. Another great part about it is we don't charge by the seat. We sell by your population and then how many modules you want. You have 5 modules that you want. So that's where the price ends up coming from. It allows you to be able to expand. It can work for your public works. If you wanted to track sidewalks, if you want to track trees, anything that you have some sort of asset data point in, you'd be able to utilize it. and be able to put that into your GIS. And then we can end up getting it to where any work order can go against any point. And again, that's customer complaints as well. If you have someone that's calling and says, hey, you know, I don't have the greatest water pressure right now. Well, we've been over there 3 times already, and we've ended up finding out that, hey, this was for galvanized service. It's nothing to do with us. It's an internal problem. We now don't have to roll a truck there. The efficiencies that you'll gain from this, it'll pay for itself within the first year of it. Right now on this too, after the 5-year contract, in case you guys are wondering, it's roughly about $22,189 to continue it to be able to keep going for it. But again, all of the information is your guys' information. One last thing to be able to add before I see if you guys have any questions is, when you end up putting this stuff in there, again, that information is yours forever. Any other competitors that are out there, they're gonna have their own proprietary system. So in order for you to get that information from them, they're gonna make you pay for that. As the people are getting the work done too, there are dashboards where you can end up where these guys are talking about transparency. What did you guys get done the past month? I used to go to my board meetings and be able to show, hey, this is how much sewer we cleaned this month. This is how much we did last week. This is how many hydrants we have that we have to winterize. Next week, it's gonna end up snowing, and we need to start working some overtime because our dashboards show we're only 50% of the way done. It'll be able to tell you how many valves that you've turned for that year. It's a requirement from the state. It also allows you to be able to do residential cross connections internally yourself as well, to be able to do those. So it's hitting on 5 or 6 different state requirements that you have to be able to do. And we created this because there isn't a good legacy system that's out there. So that's just a quick overview of it. Not really a presentation, but any questions?
Thank you. So you were saying that this system will literally pay for itself in a year. I was just thinking of what it costs just for the time of an employee to sit there and write and document and file, and then when something comes up, you have to go back and try to dig it up and find it. This eliminates all that.
Everything. In any picture that you take, any notes that you take, anything that you do will always be right in your own GIS environment. It completely eliminates any paperwork that you currently use. This works for vehicles as well. We just did City of Petoskey. You can end up putting this right in the door jamb. You open that up, scan it. Any maintenance that's ever been done on that vehicle automatically pops up. You want to create a work order for it, you just press plus work order. We also, since we are from the industry, we made it super easy to use. The second person that I started with was a guy that never even, and this is an honest, true story, that never sent an email before. He could only press reply all. I knew if I could start with that guy, get him to use it, that anyone would be able to use it. And within 2 weeks, he's like, oh yeah, this is unbelievable, you know, using the voice to text in the comments. Super easy to be able to use for any stage of technology.
So to be able to create a work order right on the spot, that's going to be a whole lot more efficient.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
What happens probably right now is a sticky note is made. Sure, preventative maintenance is being done, but now you're able to capture all of that corrective maintenance that needs to be done. Maybe while you're checking hydrants, a hydrant was hit or the 2.5-inch nozzles broke off of it. Someone needs to make sure that they're going back and fixing that. Maybe a valve is broken or it's the opposite turn. This is all the information that you have to run a good water distribution system and collection system.
And if I understood correctly from what I had read, what there was, this integrates with our current BSNA.
Yep.
No, we don't got to buy any special anything.
No, they have a public API that we're able to connect to because you guys have the web-based BSNA. Since you guys have that and it's not on-prem, very easy for us to be able to do that, and we've done it before.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Other questions? Mr. Rummett.
So I think, though, we really need to speak to the public as a whole when it comes to this presentation, because I believe that I understand what you're speaking on, but I do believe there are people who may not. So GIS, the parcel viewer, what used to be a paper plat book is how everybody knows who owns what property. It's available to the entire world. But in addition to that, there are layers for topographical, on and on, that are visible on the GIS for Eaton County, which encompasses the city of Charlotte. But beyond that, we have so many layers that are not utilized. And utilizing layers that you're presenting the ability to lay onto that are not there currently in the GIS that we see, say, on the Eaton County parcel viewer. Currently, that layer doesn't exist because the city hasn't implemented that into the use. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so your layer allows us to put that on top of.
Correct. Ours lays right in there. So out front here, you have water main that runs down the street. You'll have a water main layer. We're going to utilize your water main layer to be able to put a work order towards a main break, towards, hey, this is where a certain tap is. Was it a corrosive break? Was it a shear break? Any invoices that happen with that main break. Making sure that the sidewalk gets repaired because you rip that out as well. And then also being able to collect all those costs into one. You'd be able to know exactly how much that main break cost and then how much all your main breaks for the year cost. Sorry about mentioning main breaks.
So however, that information is only as good as that's put into it.
Correct.
Currently, we don't even have the ability to put the information into that because we don't possess it. So I guess my question is, and you've got yourself in this position, we've allowed you to put yourself in this position, please name the best competitor that you have doing exactly what you do to the best of their ability. However, we understand that you do it better, as you're stating.
Yeah, CityWorks. They're the largest. They probably hit 70 to 80%. Lucity is another one, but they don't utilize your GIS solution. They're proprietary, so it's two separate systems. So you have to update it over here and update it over here. And then if there's an upgrade here, it no longer talks to this. We're literally right in there. So if you have a street reconstruction project that's updated in GIS, it's already updated in us. And your layers are for water, wastewater, sanitary sewer, all of that is currently in your GIS system. So we're utilizing the technology you already have spent a lot of money and hours creating.
Well, and just for the sake of the fact that this is being presented, again, I think I understand it, but I want everyone to understand that we're trying to make decisions that are best. When BSNA was mentioned by Mr. Fullerton, Tiger that is, to the public at multiple times, it was a foreign language. To the majority of the public, the taxpayers that are here tonight, many other people out there, BSNA, sounds like a bunch of letters just scrambled together. What does it mean? Well, the city had this for a while. The city paid for it for quite a while. It was approved by a council previously, but it was underutilized. So we have this. We have had file cabinets upon file cabinets in a room just behind me that possess a ton of information, such as when the last time that this or that was done in the city, and it's a file cabinet. If you can't find it, it doesn't exist. Having it in a position such as what you're presenting, but your willingness to tell us who your competitors are, I think is stellar, because if you do something good and you do it better than the other guy, you still have to know that it needed to be done, because otherwise the file cabinet full of file folders, full of documents, was good enough for years. We live in an age when everyone carries a phone in their hand, and they're able to find out who owns a parcel next door, whether their tax base is in line with what they think it should be, on and all that. But if you don't know how to use that tool, you don't even know it exists, then I think that this is where we get into that muddy part where there's sole sources. Somebody's always better than the next guy, and he has an opportunity to be even better than that previous guy. But when you come here and put yourself out here to present your software, and we've decided we're probably not going to vote, but at least we know something exists, and that we can do better than what we're doing now, and our DPW can use those tools so that we can be that city that we've strived to be for a while, and we use file folders and printed documents. So thank you for my opportunity to ask you those questions.
Yes.
Yeah, this technology seems pretty easy to put onto other things like park maintenance, and I'm just wondering, have you just not gotten there, or?
I didn't want to list all of them.
Well, I just looked at a list, and I wondered how that list can go to a few other things that are, just rifling through my brain that we do, right?
Yes, absolutely. You could say, hey, when someone's going to go and check the playground equipment, do an inspection on it, you need to make sure you're weed whacking, or you need, if you had cemeteries, it does cemeteries. I mean, you name it. If you wanted to track potholes, and repairing potholes, you could. You also, I've heard streets be brought up quite a few times. If you guys end up having a street layer, then you can also start prioritizing in your capital improvement plans. Hey, my water says this needs to be done from my asset management plan. This is what a third party's telling me needs to be replaced. My sewer needs to be replaced. Now my street needs to be replaced. The storm sewer needs to be replaced. Now you can overlay all 4 of those layers. Now you're making really educated decisions on what's the best bang for your buck, instead of one person saying, yeah, this street needs to be done, but what about the infrastructure that's below it?
Okay, so I've seen this technology used on other things. Can we use it to inform our citizens about something, what happened here?
Yes, absolutely. What I used to do is be able to pull up dashboards. So every time you do some sort of work, it can automatically, as soon as someone does it, it updates a dashboard. It tells you how many valves you've turned, how much sewer you've cleaned. You can share that on a Facebook page or with the public, a newsletter, to be able to show the public, this is what our municipal workers are doing. It's not 5 guys sitting around, 1 guy shoveling. We are doing a ton of work, and now you're actually being able to show the public, this is everything that we are doing.
Yeah, QR code, lots of information.
Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I'm assuming, let's say we install a new part, that tag goes on it. I think as I've learned to go into some of my classes, is that emergency costs come up because we had a part that was scheduled to be replaced in 10 years, and then boom, it blows, and it's year 13. This will help eliminate things like that. So when that 10 years comes up, we know we need to replace that part rather than waiting for the emergency.
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
Yep. And then training. Training is something you're going to see from us that you'll not get from any other competitor. Your guys' success is our success. We want, the BPW, any of their water, wastewater workers, to be able to go to a conference and say, man, Clearflow, have you guys tried those guys yet? We're going to make sure we have an in-person training, 4 hours, because that's about all the length that you can get those guys to sit down and be able to pay attention for. You're only going to remember a certain percentage of that training. There isn't a ton that needs to be done, but we do that the first time. Then 3 to 4 weeks later, we meet again, 3 months, 6 months, and then annually after that point. We're constantly improving it as well. We listen to our customers. Every one of us have been in the industry for about 20 to 30 years, and we were tired of these legacy systems like the CityWorks, like the Lucity. We've heard too many horror stories and lived them ourselves too, where these solutions get dumped on somebody's desk and say, basically, thanks for paying for it, good luck implementing it. That's not the way that we operate. We want to make sure there's complete success, and that way when you have another meeting like this, the people are like, man, I really appreciate these updates. We see where you guys are spending the money, why you're spending it, and where you're spending it.
Okay.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
And I appreciate you guys listening to me too. I drove an hour and a half to talk to you guys, so thank you.
On to communication and committee reports. First is the mayor's report, and this will be news to some people, quite a few people, that our first choice, Scott Cezak, for manager, has declined and is not interested in the position, and I have an email that I need to read to you. It's worded quite appropriately, I think. Sorry about missing your call earlier. It's been one of those days, and as you probably know about those days. After reviewing the contract in detail and doing some calculations based on the generous offer at the top of the advertised scale, I'm at a place where my heart and head are in conflict, as my heart wants me to jump at this opportunity and do what I can for the city of Charlotte. However, my head is telling me to think ahead before I leap, and unfortunately, the numbers don't seem to be working for me, which is not at all the fault of the city or the offer, but is simply a matter of the housing market in the area looking like it would eat most, if not all, of the increased salary versus my current mortgage and salary, as well as that the pension plan offered would take 6 years to vest, which contrasts the plan I have now that has a higher employer contribution and is already vested. I realize the employee handbook says a different plan can be offered to the city manager, but I think given the issues Charlotte is looking to overcome, the city manager should not be requesting special deals that could cause resentment among the department heads and staff. Therefore, given the notion that at my age I should listen to my head, and given my history of leaping with my heart and it not always working out for me, I'm making the difficult decision to decline the contract and withdraw my candidacy to be the next city manager for Charlotte. Please express to the council my regret to have reached this decision, but I greatly appreciate their support in voting to extend me this offer. I also wanted to thank you for your guidance during this opportunity and the words that you said about my candidacy after my interview. Neither will be forgotten by me, and I wish you and the city of Charlotte well moving forward. So the question is, we picked an alternate candidate. If everybody's okay with that, we can move forward. We held up on this because it was Thursday or Friday. We knew the weekend was coming. We couldn't get a contract even if we moved forward. So before we do anything, I just want to make sure that the council, I think we need some type of direction, a motion or whatever.
Make a
before we
motion
discuss.
to extend an offer to the person who was chosen as the alternate,
Second.
which would be Mr.
second?
Vester.
Second.
Moved and seconded.
That was Vester Davis, correct?
His name would be Vester Davis.
If I can, Mayor.
Go ahead.
Offering, if you would just utilize the conditional offer, subject to negotiated contract as well as a background check. That way, if that's the direction you want to go, at least it's in there. And the important thing is with the background check, it triggers the consultant to go into depth with more detail and authorization to look into the background.
So I guess I'd ask you how you would want Mr. Brummett to reword his motion.
Yeah. About half of those.
The motion would be, to make a conditional offer to Vester Davis for the city manager position, subject to negotiation of a contract and acceptable background check.
Is that what you said?
That was exactly what I said.
What he said. I think it was.
And
you second it?
I seconded that as well.
Is there any other discussion?
Yeah.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Based on Mr. Davis's interview, he did a fantastic job, and so, at the time, we were looking at multiple great candidates. We felt that they could all do the job. We felt two of them were a good fit, and so I think we can be excited to move forward with Mr. Davis. And I think if that for some reason doesn't work out, then I would just recommend, it would be my preference that we do new interviews at that time. So I'm not sure if we need to renominate a new second, or if we can just, we all agree that at that point, if Mr. Davis wasn't to take the position, that we would want to do an additional round of interviews.
It'd be more appropriate to come back to another meeting and if that happened, and then make that motion then,
I understand, thank you.
hoping that we don't have to do that. More discussion on the motion?
Scott over there has something.
Go ahead, Mr. Scott.
Oh, I'm just in agreement with the decision. I think it's a good decision to go with number one, Mr. Davis. I think it would be wrong not to after what we did in the meeting.
I have to just say, I didn't know when we were going to talk about this, because I know that we're trying to do all that we can to move in the right direction. We know we're a time crunch here when it comes to the fact that we're looking for a city manager. And I thought that Vester was a great opportunity. I was definitely challenged, and as I presented in the last meeting, but I actually am pleased that we have this choice, because it seemed that Mr. Davis actually had a viable interest in the city then, and I do believe it sounds like there's a good chance that he has. I don't know if we've had any correspondence in that regard, but if we have, that's a plus too, because I don't want to have to prolong this any longer than absolutely necessary. And yeah, that's kind of what I've got to say.
I'll answer your question. Yes, he is still very interested and willing to negotiate a contract.
Great. Well, I hope that he doesn't feel like he's, was second choice. It was a challenge for us, and I believe we worked really well to get to where we were. And so I'm still pleased that we have another person who's very interested in helping us.
Mr. Christensen.
Thank you. I know for those of you here and watching online, some of us up here have been through a couple of these city manager processes. And I know it was my determination when we were down to our final three, as we sat and interviewed them and went through everything, those were the best final three candidates by far than I thought we had ever had in front of us. So, and our first choice and the second were this close. I mean, they were equals. So this is certainly not a step back. This is continuing to move Charlotte forward. And I think Mr. Davis will do a great job. I hope we can get him on board. Thank you.
Anything else? Proceed to vote on the motion then. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We will move forward. I would imagine you'll be contacting him, Mr. Freed, tomorrow?
Yep, maybe tonight.
Maybe tonight. So we're to the manager's report.
I don't have anything operationally, just that I'm going to be out of town starting Thursday, be back next Tuesday, going out of town to do some fly fishing. My wife's going along with me. It's her 37th anniversary tomorrow, and I'm just glad she invited me along for another trip, so it's, but I'll be gone for a few days, so.
Okay? I don't think we have anything from the attorney other than what you've read. Staff report, you had CPD report was in the packet. No comment?
No, I do have a question. In your absence, who's your backup?
Well, I haven't decided. I'll give you a note. I have a staff meeting in the morning. I'll see who steps forward or everybody else moves back, which is usually the case, so, but I'll send you a note. It's usually going to be the police or fire chief in most circumstances, in part because if there's an emergency, they handle it, and administratively, that usually takes care of it, so, but it's going to be more of a natural, man-made or natural disaster. So I'll let you know.
Council member reports.
Committee reports?
Go ahead.
Planning Commission had a special meeting on Tuesday, May 19th. One item on the table, and that was they made a unanimous vote to not eliminate the minimum parking requirements with regards to zoning. So I suspect we're going to be seeing that back pretty quickly. That's it. Thanks.
Mr. Newman, did you have anything?
Oh, it is on tonight. Yeah, it is on tonight.
We had our Francis meeting a week ago, or last Tuesday, and basically the highlights that came out of that is more progression towards the walkway from the cabin down to the fire pit. We've got a possibility of a bee pollinator coming in and doing a garden for pollinating bees and that sort of thing. So he's got a couple of different options there, some that don't sting. I didn't know there was such a thing, that a bee that didn't sting, but I learned something new at the meeting there. So some other beautification, area beautification type things going on down there. They did raise a precaution for events and stuff like that. The woods are still full of poison ivy, so be cautious if you go wandering and bird watching and that sort of thing, that you might get a little more than you bargained for. So,
thank you. Mr. Rummett?
No meeting.
Okay.
Mr. Chin and I had a brownfield meeting today where we've been reestablishing that. We are full now, finally, a full committee, and have regular meetings with quorums and everything. We're looking at LDFA.
Okay, Mr. Chen?
Yes, the E-Tran board met. Major discussion, of course, is the funding for E-Tran and the cuts that had to be made after the defeat in Delta Township. There will be a renewal millage coming to folks. So hopefully, we also have put together a media package through the University of Michigan, through their sustainability project that they're doing. They assigned a couple of their graduate students to work out the information packages to inform folks about E-Tran and the importance of this millage coming up. I did spend some time discussions with, in my role as the legislative liaison with our state senator as well as our House of Rep person. Again, we're fighting and working at not allowing the state to dictate zoning and allow the cities and townships and villages to control our own destinies as far as zoning is concerned. Their whole focus, of course, is some of the areas that they've had to deal with where housing has been an issue, where they zone out affordable housing to keep people out of their cities. So that's what has brought this on for the state to look at. So we'll see what happens. The state did adopt a general or the funding for cities as a trust, which means that there'll be a set amount set for distribution, and hopefully along with the new fire and police funding and the funding for cities overall, Charlotte will not lose. Some of the townships are going to get hurt by the new funding mechanism, but actually Charlotte will end up in the plus with the road funding as well as the regular funds that come our way.
Mr. Rodriguez, no report. So that'll bring us to the consent agenda. On the consent agenda tonight, we have approval of resolution 2026-30 authorizing street closures for the Oddities Festival to include needful things participation. And we have approval of resolution 2026-31 authorizing street closures for Friends of Eaton County Animals Celebration. Is there a motion?
Move to approve the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second to approve the consent agenda. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to the business agenda. Item 1A, claims and accounts. And the approval of the claims would be 503-01856. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Second. Discussion. Mr. Chin.
Yes, I just needed to, there was a emergency purchase, and I'm not sure what the emergency was, but it just hit me that the amount was $91,791, and so we didn't get notice of that.
I think he did give
I
notice.
sent it after, probably a little over a month ago. I got notice from Stephanie and Utilities about the condition of the pump there. Now, the firm doing the work does regular inspections, but it's also our very most productive well. And when you look through the invoice, which was attached with my memo, that you'll note that most of that cost was related to the motor and the pump that went with it, as well as the crew and the crane that was required to put that in place. My apologies for not sending it out like I had in the past with another item. It was one of those days with fires everywhere, and next thing I knew, I forgot to send a note to that effect. But I thought it was pertinent when it came in here to give you a little background on it.
So the contractor was the one that normally works on our pumps? Okay.
Yes. Yep.
Thank you.
Any other questions on claims? If not, I'll take a roll call vote for claims and accounts.
Fullerton,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Rummett,
Yes.
Chin,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Scott.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next item on the business agenda is approval of a resolution 2026-32 to authorize the creation of an absolute property rehabilitation district. Is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All any opposed? Motion carries. Item B, approval of resolution 2026-33 to create special assessment district pursuant to Public Act 33 of 1953 as amended, Emergency Services Vehicles Resolution Number 5. Is there a motion?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Discussion? You might be able to answer some of the questions.
That's where I'm headed. I know there's a lot of talk tonight, and I certainly appreciate all of you that came out. I certainly reviewed the letters. I had letters before when we first talked about this. The elephant in the room here is not that we're trying to take more money from you. The special assessment was actually in effect when this administration came on board. And I will tell you, I've spent a lot of time on the budget looking for ways that we can figure out how to take care of the problem. And the problem is what's called MERS. The city has to pay retirement costs, legacy costs. We currently pay, I don't know if this is quite $200,000 a year for our current employees for their retirement. The problem we have is the legacy, the long retired employees. That cost is right around almost $1.2 million. So hence, that puts us short. It just does. It's not a lot that can be done about it. And I'll explain what happened in a quick nutshell, if I may. Let's say you had a credit card and you were making your minimum monthly payments. Everything was good. Your credit rating was good. And then all of a sudden you got a phone call from your credit card company and they said, hey, you're doing great, but now we want you to pay 60% of your balance today. That's essentially what happened here. So cities, municipalities, townships had to scurry to try to find a way to come up with all this big chunk of money. And there's very few cities in Michigan that actually had that kind of money laying around. We certainly didn't. And even though we do continue to look, we have paid a little extra every year to try to get this paid down. But it's a process. If we just make what we're doing now, I believe it's the year 2038 before we are finished with this. It's a long time. And hence, that's where the special assessment came in. The change from what was last time to this time is council wanted to be very specific because there was always questions. Well, where's this going? It's going to the fire fund. Well, it wasn't, the description wasn't right. And we wanted citizens to clearly understand where that money was going. And I mean, it's spelled out crystal clear. So I was supportive of the language and the change so people understood it. Where I have a problem is taxation without a vote. I agree with you. Ever since I've sat here, I've been a no vote on this, and I will continue to be a no vote until it goes on a ballot, even though I fully support public safety. I can't imagine where we would be if we didn't have the police, the fire, and the EMS that we did. You know, I know Mr. Witkoff was talking about efficiency and why do we have maybe the west side and our downtown go out, you know, for some of these calls. And I believe Mayor Fullerton spoke to this a few meetings back. That quicker response time saves lives and it saves property. And for all of us in the room that would ever have to deal with something like that, I think we'd all feel a lot better knowing that that ambulance or that fire truck or that police officer might get to us a couple minutes quicker. So that's the best way I can explain it. Maybe some others can explain it a little better. But that's where I stand on it, and I hope this helps you understand it. Thanks.
Mr. Scott?
Well, I think there's still a little confusion. We did not layer a special assessment district on top of a special assessment district. We did away with the first one because it wasn't transparent enough and did a different special assessment district. So it's not, we didn't just double your taxes. I want to be clear about that.
No. This is debate. Mr. Chin?
Yeah, so the problem that we're faced in the council, and I think in 2020 face, was the fact that the city had not put enough money into the pension fund. MERS is the company that takes care of the pension. Out of nowhere, the state said, cities, villages, et cetera, you need to fund and have 60% of your potential debt in the bank and ready to go. And by a certain date, you need to be 100% funded. So this city had not put in enough money into the pension, and like no one knew where that came from, and all of a sudden, overnight, it was like 60%. The numbers of cities and villages that were in townships that were not there even at 60% was huge. Over the years, the city decided to spend that money doing something else, and they shortchanged the pension program. Pensions, by constitutional requirements, have to be protected. And the state took that effort and said, if you don't get to the 60%, we will send in an emergency manager to take over your city. And that, folks, you do not want to happen. I happen to be in the administration that put an emergency manager in Flint, and guess what happened there? We don't want to repeat that here in Charlotte. The other thing is that persons talked about, they voted the millage down, and talked about the sheriff's office, and talked about the prosecutor's office. Folks, the city had nothing to do with that. That was a county millage request. We have not requested any kind of millage that went down. So I think that needs to be clear. The other thing I would ask people to do is to take a look at your tax bills. And you will see that only 15% of your bill is city taxes. All the rest are county and millages that were voted in, school millages that were voted in, bond issues that were voted in. So, you know, our portion is really small. And, you know, I've asked the city manager and our treasurer to put out a pie showing how little of your tax money goes to the city. We're the bad guys because we send out the bills. And people associate, well, I got this bill from the city, you know, and everything went up. So you really have to take a look at that and see exactly what the city is doing. Somebody mentioned earlier the fact that their insurance rates for their homeowners went up, when in fact, because of the great work our fire department does, our ratings actually cause it our insurance to go down for coverage. So, again, we need to think about the fact that if this millage raises about a $1.2 million. And the question to ask the public is, do you want fire police or don't you? Do you want city services, paving, et cetera? Because that's where the money has to go. Somebody said, what great job we're doing getting some of the streets taken care of all of a sudden. Well, that's because of the fact that we have gotten more money through the state funds for that. The general fund is a big pot of money, but a lot of the other things that we have to pay for are separate. Streets, we get funding from the state through the gas tax, et cetera. And then again, that's going to be changing soon, where more money is going to come from the gas tax for street repairs, because the entire state is facing the bad roads that we're experiencing. But I live right off of Lincoln, and boy, I just love the work that they've done there. I mean, it's seriously. The other is some of us have had what we call our own town halls or coffee hours. Councilman Curtis and myself have had several where we're there for citizens to come in, and that way we can have two-way dialogue. I want to have town halls to where we can have dialogue back and forth. And those town halls have to be, we have to be very careful in how we handle those, because we can't make decisions. All we can do is at least have conversation and understand what some of our folks are thinking from that standpoint. And by the way, I for 2 years, I had coffee hours. I put it in the community paper. I put it in the Facebook pages, all, I think 6 or 7 of them, where I would be and I tried to schedule one during the day and one later in the afternoon, so that folks that are working can come in different shifts, et cetera, from that standpoint. And I know Councilman Curtis is every Tuesday sits there, and I can count on one hand how many people have come in to talk. So I offer you that, and certainly, share your concerns with us. Get more people to our meetings, because that's the only way that you still have a strong voice, but at least we can have dialogue, and at least you understand some of the decisions that we have to make regarding your taxes. And some of the efficiencies that we're looking for, we're spending a little money, but it takes some money to really get those efficiencies. I spent about 5 years training and doing process improvement for Department of Technology Management and Budget for the state. So I know what those process improvements can lead to from that standpoint. So again, thank you for the time. Thank you for coming here and letting us know what you think. And hopefully you can understand some of the issues that we face as a city council. We didn't create the problem, but we had to fix it, and we have to continue fixing it until we're safe from takeover from the state. Thank you.
My personal cell number is on the city website. You can call me. I don't have all the information memorized, but I have all the information on these. If you call me, if you call Mr. Chin, we can answer so many of the questions that were asked today. There's one more thing I want to make very clear. I've been here for 4 years. This is my last year. And when I hear things like, we don't know where the money's being spent, or something is not transparent, okay, that is a direct shot at this council. And all of that information is publicly available information. There is no money that we are just spending that we don't know what we're spending on. We know how much is coming in. I will sit down with anyone to go over the budget with you. If you want to show me what you think should be cut, what you think is wasteful spending, I will go line by line. Give me a call. My number's on the website. But you will find that you may find some things you want to be cut, but you won't find 7 people who all agree on those things. They'll have some different things. And that's how government works sometimes, and it just is what it is.
Other discussion, you two haven't spoke. Did you want to speak?
You know, just kind of reiterating what's, kind of been said. A lot of comments, that were made in the beginning of the meeting, stealing money and that sort of thing. One person, I don't remember who, I apologize for that, had said at one meeting, somebody said, when does it stop? That was me. And that I asked what our exit plan was to get away from the special assessments. Because, just like all of us, I'm paying city taxes, and, my 80-year-old mother is paying city taxes on Social Security and, those, type of things. And, the city manager's response and a lot of the comments out here today are about property taxes being high. Mr. Chin, reflected 15% of what, we take in on summer and fall tax base is 15%. City manager, said during that meeting that we're actually behind 20 to 30% in our taxable, values of our homes and that sort of thing, So, I don't know what the answer is. It's going to take, a lot of thought process on, how we can do this, and keep taxes, reasonable so we can attract people. And we've got a great housing authority that is working on bringing in more housing, more builders, and that sort of stuff. We're bringing the building department back into the city operations, taking that away from the county. And, I've talked about my experience with the county. It was not pleasant, and that sort of thing, So hopefully, doing that within the city, we can, cut costs and generate more revenue and that sort of stuff as well. Mr. Vickoff, you asked, about taking multiple trucks to calls and, from the fire department. I'm a 17-year veteran of our fire department, and I don't know everything, that, Chief Fuller, both Chief Fullertons know. But I do know that, when we show up to, a garage fire, as we did the other night at 3 in the morning with, 4 fire trucks, we don't know exactly what we're getting into. We may show up with the first 2 responding trucks and, they say flames visible and it's going through the roof, or, some sort of quick report so we can gear up and, kind of have an idea of what we're going into. But what is in that garage? How much fuel is in the garage? What fuel sources are in the garage? How many personnel are we going to need at that scene? How much water are we going to need? There's a lot of things that go on at these fire scenes, medical scenes. We can go to a simple, I've got a chest pain, I think it's indigestion, and turn into a full arrest where we're doing CPR and we need help and help now. To wait another 6 to 10 minutes for more people to come from their homes and get out of bed and, get to the station and respond to the scene, it could be too late for that individual that desperately needs our help, and that sort of thing, So, that's why we take, the 2 first response vehicles, why we take, the trucks to get personnel there. Because a small garage fire can get into a house, can get into, the next door neighbor's house. And all of a sudden, now we're calling for mutual aid because we need even more help, more than what we need, or what we have, rather. You know, so, you know, looking at, you know, different fire scenes, different situations, you know, our initial response is to get what we can there so we have it rather than not, you know, say, oh, Boy Scout, you know, rather have it and not need it than to need it and not have it. You know, and that sort of thing, you know. So a lot of the emergency responses, we're responding to ambulance calls now, and, you know, those quicker response times. The ambulance may be out at, you know, the township hall, you know, 8 miles down the road towards Eaton Rapids, and we're right here in town. We can get there within 2 minutes where they're gonna take 6 to 8 minutes. We can start rendering aid, we can save lives, you know, doing that. So as a council, to look at, you know, how we can better plan and dedicate funds to, you know, those services. The ambulance service that U of M Sparrow, you know, charges us for coverage in our area, you know, is a needed expense. You know, when we call 911, you know, that's where we, you know, want people to show up and that sort of thing. And to have Benton Township come from, you know, 8 miles up the road, or Nashville, or, you know, somebody else, you know, you're looking at 20 minutes, you know, for somebody to respond, you know, and people aren't gonna survive 20 minutes of waiting and that sort of thing. You know, so those are the type of things that, you know, we've got outlined. There's a chart with, you know, exactly what funds are dedicated to police and fire and ambulance service, you know, so you as citizens, as us as citizens, understand where that money is going and what it's going to be spent on and what it's dedicated for. So we did this to alleviate, you know, any of the, you know, thoughts that, you know, we're taking money from the special assessment funds and spending it on roads or, you know, whatever other services are out there, you know, that sort of thing. So just, I think more clarity, more transparency, hopefully a little different understanding of what this, you know, money is geared towards and why we're asking for it and that sort of thing. Thank you.
Mr. Brumman.
So I appreciate everyone who came out and the letters that were sent and the correspondences that have occurred and the time that's been spent, the people who have been misinformation or informed and chosen to come out here and try to become more informed. But I have to implore you all, or implore you, or however we say it, to get rid of your other avenues of approaching this information. The phone numbers are here, and I'll state mine on the record if you like. It's 517-541-6611. You can find it all over Eaton County, all right? The problem we have here, and the reason the majority of the people have attended our meetings that have been contesting the issue, is social media. Social media is great, all right? You can know what happened on somebody's dinner table yesterday, whatever. But the truth of the matter is that it should have been the resolution to why we're here, trying to inform everyone that this is exactly what you've been paying for the last couple of years. And it's just going to get extended, and it's going to get renamed. But many people are under the impression that we're going to double it, and that it's a reassessment, an additional assessment. And the truth of the matter is that we are underfunded. There isn't enough money, there's not enough people spending enough money on their homes to increase the taxable value, who are raising their hand and saying, please assess my property again and bring the value up so I can pay more taxes into this. If sale of houses occurs, the taxable value gets reassessed. Therefore, there is an increase in the tax base that we're able to make the expenditures with. Or if people spend a lot of money on the garden hose laying out there just running in their yard, if that's what you want to do, then we will then have more revenue coming into the city. However, it won't pay for this because it's a separate line item. It's a different checkbook, if you will, a different amount of money. And so this special assessment is directed at the underfunded pension, which has been a problem from before we were all sitting here. And as Mr. Chin and many others have stated, it is going to continue to be a problem. So if there's anyone within the city, you now have my phone number, who has an idea on how we're going to fund that in a different form, I'm all ears. But if you don't have an idea, then all you can do is say, you know, please reassess my property. And then we'll take that general fund money and we'll switch it around and we'll fill in that gap that we've had and we'll eliminate the special assessment in the future. But until you find a way that we're going to collect different tax from you at a higher rate, unfortunately, we're going to have to try to do what we can with what we have.
And like Mr. Chen pointed out, we have only so much of the tax base that you see, your taxable value being spread over all those people. It sounds like we have, many different people who are coming with different ideas on how we can fill that gap. But if it was that easy, you wouldn't see so many other communities with special assessments. So we have many other communities, and it's been in the newspaper multiple times, where they have this special assessment coming forward. And if it's a problem in multiple other communities, well, then we're not unique. Although we'd like to be unique, we'd like to be the ones that are sitting on the golden egg with excess amount of money. Again, back to the truth of the matter is that people live longer, and so they're able to collect on their pension longer. But we also know throughout the majority of the working force, pensions have been eliminated. And being eliminated now gets rid of the problem. But you'll have to involve all those people who are collecting pensions, no matter where it is, and actually say, you know what, you shouldn't have a pension. Now live off the 401k that you never funded. Yep. But they still are alive, and they're still collecting on their pensions, so therefore we have an underfunded pension problem. It will eventually get better in due time, but I'm not wishing anyone to shorten their life so that that can be fixed. We'll speak to the fact of the fire department. Lost my dad a week ago Friday. And I'll tell you what, these people who are funded by this special assessment show up before you could even see a lightning strike, right now, ready to fix the problem with backup. And I would not like for anyone to be in the situation we were in, not having those emergency response people who are willing to put all they have into it to try to bring someone back. So when Mr. Newman speaks about the fact that they send an extra, I was there when the West Side Station was built. And the West Side Station, as I understood it, was going to take care of the west side of the railroad tracks. That'd be fine if we had a bunch of full-time firemen, but we don't. We have one at each station stating there in order to take out the resources that are needed in hopes that volunteers show up that can actually use the tool if all he did is drive it there. So I think that it's great to understand what we have for resources, but to better understand how they're used, you have to actually get a little involved. Visit the fire department and go down there and ask those guys how they use the tools that they have. Actually look at what your taxes pay for and the trucks that have been maintained for years upon years, but look better than the car you can buy off the lot that's only a year old. They're taken care of so well because those guys care about you and their stuff. And so therefore, we've got to keep that being the case, or otherwise, yes, the state will come in and take it over, and they'll treat us just like some other you-name-it city that nobody cares about. So I think that it makes sense. However, I know there are people who will say, let's take it to vote. Well, if it fails, the state will take over. So we can't let the state take it over, so we can't put it to a vote. It's just kicking the can down the road. Thank you.
Gee, didn't have to say much at all then. I would like to remind everybody that the reason that what we're voting on tonight is the resolution is to approve the role for the special assessment district. Technically, the city's already approved the special assessment district, and that was a month or two ago. This is step 5. And the reason everybody got a letter in the mail was your address is being charged that tax. So that's called the roll, R-O-L-L. So the special assessment district has already been approved. Tonight, we're being asked to approve the roll, meaning all these numbers, it's pages that thick with all the addresses on them. And that's what we're being asked to approve tonight is the roll. Did we get it right? Are you saying that, there was a couple people did call in, they can appeal their assessment. And that's the reason she's got the name and address. You can appeal your assessment and say it's not worth that much. So that part is easily taken care of. I guess, these guys know. When we go to a heart attack, it's 6 people minimum. And we send a truck from each station because that's 2. If we just set one, we'd have one guy helping the ambulance, and the other would be sitting down here waiting for another call, huh? That doesn't make any sense. So you end up sending both vehicles, one from each station. If the train is coming through, you're still going to get one from one side or the other. And that happens all the time. 2 or 3 times a week that we get held up by a train. These guys are making 2,500 calls a year now. And the special assessment was done transparently so that it includes fire, police, and the ambulance service that we have to pay. $75,000 we pay to the ambulance service that nobody knows about. That's to keep an ambulance in town. You know, and they're gone most of the time because they're busy. I checked with them today, I saw them, and they were on their 13th run, and it was noon. They started at 6 in the morning. Figure that out. Most of the trips were to Lansing. So when 2 or 3 rigs are running, what are we doing? We're filling the gap in. Now, the choice is this, you know, if you want the services, we're gonna have to pay for them. People aren't gonna do this stuff for free. You get up in the middle of the night at 3 o'clock, see how your next day goes. And you'll say, I guess that is worth it. It would be to me, and that's not even a heart attack, that'd be a fire. And we get those too. And we don't get to choose when the fire is. So, but if you want the services, somebody's got to pay for it. That's all there is to it. And the townships have found this out. Brookfield Township just passed a special assessment for fire, police, and ambulance. As other townships are looking at it very seriously. There is no other way to do it. And I would have to, somebody said that it was illegal to do that. And from what I understand, it's not. And our attorney says it's not. So I don't think that's a valid point to say that it's illegal to have a special assessment. And we did rename that. And it's, you know, I can remember put the note right up here on this board. And I said, anybody wants to cut the special assessment, just come up here and put a line through the things you don't want to pay for. You want to pay for fuel, you don't want to pay for the volunteer stipend, that they get a whole whopping $400 a quarter or something like that. I mean, for 3 months of work, getting up in the middle of the night, ask him. He loves going to work when he's tired all day. Nobody knows what it really is. And if you want to know or ask, go to the fire station. Those guys back there can answer the question. Obviously, I can answer it for you too. So if you want to call me, I can give you the answer. I'm still involved with the department, and I've been there for 50 years. So I've seen a little bit of what the bad stuff is. So anyway, that's what we're doing tonight, is approving the roll, not the special assessment. That's already been approved. But the reason you got a notice in the mail is because your property with your name on it came up, and you got a mailing. And that's required by law. So that's what we're doing. With that, we'll call for a roll call vote on the motion to approve the special assessment roll.
Fullerton.
Yes.
Chin.
Yes.
Newman.
Yes.
Rodriguez.
Yes.
Christensen.
No.
Scott.
Yes.
Brummett.
Yes.
Motion carried. The other two were, item C is we have an agreement with approval of assessing solutions agreement, which is it's going to be $108,000 per year at a rate of $9,000 per month. And that's good until April 30th. That's per year, but that's good until April 30th, 2031, which is pretty good that they're not jabbing us for a huge amount extra.
No, but there is escalators.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
But it's not.
No, it's actually very reasonable, if I'm, sorry, Mayor.
No, go ahead.
It's very reasonable. You know, the range you're gonna see is somewhere from like $22 a parcel to 35, and given, you know, the complexity of our tax base, I think 22, maybe a rural township or something like that. This is a good bargain, and they provide very, very good service, and I've been very impressed with. I've worked with a number of assessors, and they're very good.
And it's one of those places where we've found ways to save money, because we had an assessor and a deputy assessor. That's 2 employees, that's 2 salaries, that's 2 bunch of fringe benefits. So add that up. So let's say it's $220,000 for everything, and we're going to get the whole deal for $108,000. So we've made improvements. It doesn't seem like it maybe, but there's $100 and some thousand we've saved on assessing, but nobody wants to see the assessor anyway. But anyway, you have a question? Did I get a motion? I'm sorry.
We need a motion.
We need a motion.
Move to approve the Assessing Solutions Agreement.
Second.
Second? Okay. Now, Mr. Rodriguez.
Just a lot of numbers going around out there, so I just want to make sure it's clear that the projected savings for this fiscal year by making this change is 60,000. That's it, thanks.
Just for this year. Any other discussion?
Just a question, who will be the contract manager? Because we had them before, and, we had, our employee, was managing the contract, so.
Well, I think, it'll still be Tony, the president of the company, will still be the responsible party. More than likely, Sandy's going to be still doing work on his behalf, working with him. They work well together, but she's retiring and will likely still be kind of the person that represents the firm here. We do have the obligation to provide them a work area, the access to our assessing software through BS&A. We still will incur the cost of notices, mailings, those type of things, but the core responsibilities will be handled by assessing solutions. And just so everybody understands, I mean, you're looking, when you start doing away with the fringe benefits, your family coverage is now over almost pushing 25 grand for coverage, and pension, which is already accounted for in our actuarial valuation. That's no longer there. Do all the prorated FICA and all the other benefits, as well as professional training and development. It adds up to 60 grand, and you still have better, I shouldn't say better, you'll have still very, very good service.
Okay, I still didn't get an answer to my question in terms of who is the staff person that will be managing the contract?
I'll still be the city manager, or
Okay.
I'll be responsible for it.
Just to make that clear so everybody understands, Sandy has been a city employee.
Yeah.
She's going to retire from the city,
Right.
but she's going to go to work for this company, so she'll still be in the office here.
Thank you.
That way you've got somebody that you know.
That helps.
Okay.
Immensely. Very, very good person in that capacity.
No other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Brings us to F, second reading of the ordinance to amend the zoning code and zoning map and to schedule, no, we're not scheduling that.
Take that out, yep.
This is the second reading. And do we have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
There a second?
Second. Yeah.
Moved and second to approve that. I think Tiger can fill you in on what happened at the plan, because we sent this back to the Plan Commission for further review. They had a meeting, and he can tell you what happened.
Sure, so a lot of great discussion during that time frame, especially with the Planning Commission members, but ultimately, they did rescind their previous recommendation and offered up a new one, and again, it's laid out, and I'll go through them very quickly here. In the ordinance that you guys have in front of you now, the proposed ordinance has these amendments or these revisions to it. So on page 13, the commercial corridor district, the front yard setback was reduced from 30 to 25. On page 18, there's a typographical correction of just the residential districts changed from R1, R2, RT to RN. The floodplain map was included in the overlay districts. Page 23, that was cited in there. Page 47, another typographical error. The central business district of how it's worded now the commercial downtown, so CBD to CD. And then the discussion point there, pages 47 through 51, section 82-611 was the parking requirements. And just a very good clarification here, the change that was made from the original proposed was to remove the term minimum maximum and just change it to parking requirements. With that, there is also a line on page 47 stating that there's no minimum parking requirements that was removed. That was one of the Planning Commission members that actually brought that up and made it very confusing. We take care of that. Now we have a good section within the ordinance. Page 54, there's another typographical correction. In page 121 was additional information or clarification allowing a city council member to be part of the ZBA. With that, obviously the discussion was very good across the board, And the biggest thing about this document, I think the last major revision to it was in 1990 or 91. There's been multiple additions and corrections and changes over the time, but this was a lot of work that the committee from the Planning Commission as a group all put into it. It's a good place to be right now. That doesn't mean we can't stop changing it. It's a living document. The city's always changing. We live in an evolving world, so that this will have to be updated. And if there's some Planning Commission members that feel something like the parking requirements needs a little more refined work done to it, the time will be soon here to bring that up. But the Planning Commission has a good group, and again, just as you guys sit here making policy for the city, that's their big role. Their big role is to look at the big site plans and to make policy in the direction that the city is going with the ordinances. Any further questions?
In the future, I'm wondering if this can be presented to us a little bit differently. I was talking with another council member about how when you're talking about however many pages this is, 243 pages, in the past, I've been here, I guess the longest, if we don't count his previous terms, but in the past, we have gotten side-by-side language highlighted in each of these different packets. And if that was sent to me, then I apologize for even bringing this up, but I didn't notice any side-by-side language with highlights of kind of like, here's the old, here's the new. And so it makes it very difficult. You got to run around and talk to other people to try to get those details, and people have them, which is good, but that would be great. That's it, thanks.
Very understandable, and again, majority of the time, you've probably seen a section of the ordinance revised, so it makes it easy, but when you're dealing with 200 and some pages, that's the confusing part sometimes. The Planning Commission did spend a lot of time, as well as the committee outside the Planning Commission meeting, so again, not very often does this happen, but we probably should be doing a revamp or a look into it quicker than 40 years.
Okay, that'll make it much easier next time when it comes to the next person.
I didn't hear anything as it related to my time speaking to accessory structures and the heights in relation to the primary dwelling. I know there are a number of conditional use permits that were issued throughout the city in the past. Used to be when RVs were much more common. I guess maybe now hotel costs are lower, so not so many people have those tall travel trailers and things like that. Or maybe they don't care whether they use more of the space within their yard, and they think that maybe possibly having a structure slightly taller than their house would be a good use of space as opposed to eating up half of their yard or as much as they're allowed. I sat on the Planning Commission for an awfully long time. I decided that it was best that I take this position. In doing so, I probably missed a couple of marks when it came to my opportunity. But I'm saying that really there was some changes with some people that were very intellectual within the city to allow to be able to have a barn that's taller than their house, but not so tall to dwarf their house, not such a structure that it becomes outside of the height limitations, which are clearly stated, because we can only put out a fire that's only so tall. That's why we don't have skyscrapers within the city. But the truth of the matter is that it was actually well-defined in the last ordinance when it stated that if your house sits out of the dirt a little bit, then your outbuilding may be able to be taller too, because it won't dwarf your house. And it was very well constructed in the old ordinance, and I do believe that we should adopt it into this current ordinance. And therefore, I will actually vote against it for that standpoint, because using your property in a vertical sense is, in my opinion, a no-brainer. Parking, personally, I don't think it needed all that time that went before the Planning Commission in that regard. I do believe, though, utilizing your property in a fashion where you create more permeable surfaces, less solid surfaces, is wise. We also have things like, the parking has to be on a prepared surface. You are not to park your vehicle on a non-prepared surface. You would be actually in violation.
You have to put gravel down. Doesn't mean you have to have asphalt or concrete because it creates runoff and it becomes a challenge to our stormwater situation. But if you put gravel down, you're well within the ordinance. So, in my case in point, I did that because I didn't have enough space, so I put in the gravel. I went to put in a building, which would have been definitely not an eyesore. I was cut off, and I had to make it 2 foot shorter because when we had our building department here in the city, I filled out the paper napkin that we were required to do. I stated it was going to have a 14-foot ceiling, and then the building department came out and said, how tall is this barn going to be? I said, 14-foot ceiling. Go check the paper. Oh, that's not acceptable. Well, that's what I'm planning to build. Well, cut the posts off, sit in and wait for ZBA, or just sit on it until you're red taped. No, not happening. So I cut the posts off. Gentleman by the name of Fred Darren, which isn't in the meeting right now, had a better approach. He says, well, my house sits on a hill, and my barn's going to sit in a hole. So why wouldn't you have your ordinance relate to the house instead of the average grade? The average grade is different at all properties, and therefore accessory buildings would apply to many different ones, including one that sits up by MSU Credit Union that has a conditional use permit. So this would eliminate the need for conditional use. But in the current ordinance as it's presented, you will have to have a conditional use for anyone in this particular situation. And there are many people. And like I said, in addition to that, you're utilizing the vertical space. People have shelving units upon shelving units in their basement. Why? Because they only have so much space on the floor in their basement, so they don't have things to get wet. Use the vertical space, and this is my last 2 cents related to that.
You can always go for an amendment later on, some other day, just like you're going to do with parking. Put it in planning commission's, yeah. But I think from what I've looked at the ordinance, it's a lot better than what it was the years that I worked with it, so. All those in favor of the resolution, I guess we better have a roll call vote because we're going to have some negative.
Rodriguez?
Yes.
Newman?
Yes.
Fullerton?
Yes.
Scott?
Yes.
Christensen?
Yes.
Crummett?
Yes.
Chin?
Yes.
Motion carries. Item G, reconsideration of payment to the Rotary Club. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
I asked for that to be put on because we got the letter from the Treasury Department, and this is a charge of, it was $500 and some, if I remember right, because it was for 2 quarters that Mr. Hillard, our past city manager, used to go, but then he had the community development director go, so she went for the last quarter of 2025, for the first quarter of 2026. So she did take advantage of being a member of Rotary. So in essence, we owe. And I know Mr. Chin had some thoughts about it, and the state law, we talked to the attorney, and what we've done now is included it in the city manager contract that the city manager is eligible to be a member of one organization of the city, within the city. So it could be Lions, whatever the person proves or chooses. That's in the contract now, and that makes it, according to our attorney, that makes it all legal. But we do owe, in my opinion, we do owe the Rotary the money because we took advantage of that. So, discussion?
I'm satisfied after the letter that we do owe them money, so I agree. Yeah.
Anybody else? Mr. Chin, did you have something?
Yeah, I'm still opposed to it because I do believe that it violates state law. It's very clear that a service organization should not receive funds from the city. It talks about in the compliance that certain organizations that promotes the education and advancement of employees, et cetera, are eligible to be funded by city dollars, but a social club is, regardless, is not covered. And it's very clear to me that it talks about that as well. And in my discussion with the attorney, because of the mere fact that I was opposed to the $25,000 that we gave to Charlotte Rising in last budget session, that unless they are providing services that we normally would be providing ourselves, for instance, the Historical Commission and the money that they get from us would be eligible for, because, and there's a special provision for historical commissions, et cetera, for receiving dollars. But again, it's very clear that, and regardless of whether or not the contract, the bill is actually for Selena, a former employee, because the city manager said, no, I do not want to belong to this club because of the time that was required, and the he had other issues as well. So I need to vote no because it's in violation, and probably the Attorney General would have ruling better than our city attorney, who admittedly indicated that we used a thin layer to allow us to give the 25 grand last year, and that was because they were, quote, providing services for the social district, and that was the only thing. And actually, he mentioned that he was hoping that we weren't going to do it again, because definitely we can't justify that money, and it is violation of the state law. Thank you.
Mr. Christensen.
Just wanted to add, because I know we've had discussion on this over a couple years, because public funds literally can only be used for public purpose. But Michigan Authority also recognized local governments may lawfully pay for professional memberships, such as MML, governmental association dues, training, networking related to municipal operations, which the city manager obviously would be a part of, other employment benefits tied to their official duties, and if it's part of their compensation or employment contract terms. So based on that information from the MSBO, I think it's okay. I don't think we're in any legal water there.
You have something?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, I believe that we're obligated to make this payment. However, I do believe that it's not something that we should put ourselves into in the future. As you stated, as I understand, then the city manager would have an opportunity, but it doesn't mean all the staff.
Correct.
It also doesn't say that it's, any particular organization, but hopefully it's viewed as if it's beneficial to all, not just a group to meet with and have lunch and however all those things happen. I'm not a member of Rotary, so I don't know. But there's probably some that are just as equivalent, if not more deserving. And so that's for someone else to decide, but we need to put it in writing and only offer it up to people such as the city manager, because I know that it's been one of those things, as I understood in our last meeting, Mr. Fullerton stated that he wasn't really on board with it in the past, but it's been something that he was up against. Well, I'm here to support him on the fact that it's not going to be extended to staff as a whole. You want to be a member of Rotary or Optimist or any of those, it's going to be on your own dime, because it's for benefits of you and the city if you want to, but not for the city at our expense as a city. Thank you.
Roll call vote.
Fullerton,
Yes.
Christensen,
Yes.
Chin,
No.
Brummett,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Rodriguez,
Yes.
Newman,
Yes.
Motion carries, so the treasurer can pay the bill. Next item on the business agenda, 26-27 budget and millage schedule public hearing, that'd be the city manager.
Thank you, Mayor. Had our challenge to try and get together to do a review of it, but, as I stated last month, it was a bit of a challenge to put it together. What you have proposed, and I had submitted, was basically an ongoing operational budget, similar, there's no major changes, other than the ones that have been discussed. One being the building inspection fund, that establishment, creating a permit tech position to go along with that. The other is, and I recommended after the fact, is to implement another position in the finance department for utility billing. You're putting a lot of money into the meter systems, the smart meters, and eventually you'll get yourself to doing monthly billings like most utilities do. The important thing is you just don't have enough staff down there. And the worst thing you can do is spend that kind of money and have it just fall apart because you don't have enough people to take care of it. Right. And I think in a rant correspondence I might have sent to council, I just said, look, it's a comparable sized community that I worked in, been gone 12 years, but I had 8 people in the finance and clerk area, and you got 5 here, and they're all relatively new. You've got to make sure if you do this, you can't waste that investment. And so that's the one addition that I've recommended since I submitted that. It takes the budget that incorporates a lot of the priorities of council from economic development. We talked about brownfield and LDFA, additional funding for community development position, pulling that from the LDFA, brownfield, as well as our economic development fund that we have out there. The position is funded with more money, but that's a discretion of city council and the new manager. How do you want to utilize that? So the funding is in there. Much like we've talked about tonight, is really you do have to grow your tax base. The only way to get rid of the assessment, grow your tax base. Economic development's phenomenally important, and then keep knocking down the pension contributions. You'll get there eventually. And then a strategic economic plan, there's some funding in there for that so that it ties together all the elements of housing, downtown, industrial development, and even some improvements along the corridors as well, and brownfields. There's 25 grand in there for the Charlotte Rising, although I haven't got a lot of positive responses with that renewal, but it's there if you need it. You can always take that out. The infrastructure, as you know, we've got CIP proposals out there that'll help the council going forward in the future with prioritizing how infrastructure investments take place. Human resources, obviously that was a concern of council. We're looking at contractual support, working with the clerk in that area, evaluating a lot of our processes, policies going forward with that and providing the support for that. Information technology, we've got 100 grand in there to, we're behind in a lot of areas. I think just need to catch up on it. The pension we discussed, the dollar amount the city's obligated to pay this year is $1,392,000. $1,392,900. Budgeted across all funds, we put some extra funding in there to try and draw that down. One little trick I might advise is to pay that full amount that we're obligated before December. And the trick is when you get your actuary, it'll show it a little better. It's a trick that I've done in the past. And by that time, you will have had your tax bills out, both the July and December bills will be out there, and you'll have sufficient resources to do that. Just a trick to remind you, whoever. Fiscal responsibility, but we're still balanced, even though there was quite a few changes in the general fund. Major operating funds are in healthy position. The tax levies we're going to talk about in just a moment. No water or sewer rate increase until the study is completed with that, but that's going to look at a lot of the capital needs going forward. I kind of have some general recommendations related to utilizing some of the fund balance that you have. I won't go into any of those in the interest of time. I do think, you may contemplate doing back up. The one that you would have to do is that personal property tax reimbursement. I've looked at it and I've told you that for some reason 2 years ago, all of a sudden you're down $125,000. I've looked at it. I can't figure out exactly yet why, but I haven't spent enough time talking with the Michigan, the Treasury Department to figure out what happened, because there's no apparent reason why it should have went. So we're gonna try and recover it before I leave and then incorporate that, because that's gonna be needed if you're looking to do a bond issue for the HVA system here, as well as the elevator and what have you. Debt service, I briefly talked about with a couple of folks, is you've got about $180,000. There's only 4 more years going on that. You actually propose reducing the millage from 0.7 to 0.55, 15/100ths of a mil. Just draw down the fund balance until the last payment. Economic development funds, they're in the, when I presented the budget with there. I listed some personnel issues. One of the things, and I think at some point, with Public Works is and that's be somewhere in there, I have it, you're gonna have to consider, you got a lot of retirements coming up in key positions. And Stephanie and I've had some discussion about how you get there. This is gonna happen after I'm gone, but from a budgetary standpoint, you're gonna need to know about that. That discussion will probably be coming with the new manager, but there is some positions that are gonna be retiring. Big changes to the budget since it was submitted. I added $350,000 to the grant fund for the next round of chill grants. I didn't have that in there when I submitted it. The $25,000 for human resource consulting in the clerks. Economic development, a small amount, fund $3,000 for the LEAP membership. And then adjustments to the general fund and emergency services that incorporate the rural fire contributions to the SAD. Someone had brought that up. Well, shouldn't they be paying? The answer is, yeah, they're contributing into what's going into that fund. And then reduce the general fund revenues associated with the rural fire from what I had presented. The new position, the $100,000 for the water and sewer fund billing, and amended the building service fund. I put a transfer in from the general fund of $118,000. One of the things, because I ended up presenting it at a gross amount, or at a net amount, and this puts it at gross. A lot of money there, but it was really stark when I'm talking with both Tiger and Dan, how much we don't bill because we don't have a process. And your permit tech is probably gonna handle, that's like $65,000. We're just estimating what you're not billing, and you could, whether it's code enforcement, about doing more fire inspections, those type of things that are just common. So there'll be a benefit to it long-term. And I think it's conservatively high. You transfer what you need. From a property tax standpoint, and this is where the discussion really, I think in setting the public hearing for the next meeting, you don't have to set it tonight, but it is a topic for discussion. The operating millage goes down slightly to the Headley maximum, which is 13.99 is what I would recommend. The debt service reduction, I mentioned a little over 15/100ths of a mil. The yard waste, recommending that specific millage levy, as well as the recycling eliminated, and levy it together. There's statute that allows for that. I have it at 9/10ths of a mil. We could probably knock that down at least a couple of tenths of a mil to 0.7 mils. But overall, it is, when you look at the special assessment for the SAD, that's like 7/10,000ths of a mil less than what was levied last year. But overall, that would bring your millage increase to 0.41 mils. I think you can knock it down a couple, but it has to, so I make the point with the yard waste and recycling, you levied those, but they never paid for themselves. This brings it in line where they support themselves. So the other comment that I have is related to the DDA millage. Was last year, it was levied at 1.2158. The maximum you can levy under Headley is 1 mil, 1.7611. There's just a little bit of a half mil difference in that. I don't know why it went down, but it did. And the question you have is, what millage levy do you want to levy with that? So I think the two keys in that decision is going to be the recycling, leaf collection millage, and how far down you want to take that, and then the other being the DDA. And at the end of it, I have to have a motion to schedule the public hearing, so.
For what date?
That'll be June 8th. Again, June 8th. I won't mess this one up.
So we need a motion?
What?
We need a motion?
Yes.
Yep.
I move that we set the meeting for June 8th for the budget.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion on the date? All those in favor say aye.
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 So the public hearing will be June 8th for the budget hearing. Any other questions for the manager while he's up there?
I remember when we purchased the BSNA software, the additional that we needed to complete the system, one of the reasons we did that was it was going to make the zoning, for example, if a citizen, their yard was cited, it didn't get forgotten about. It was in the system and it would pop up and make sure we kept reminders, so we stayed up on that. And the way you had talked, Vince, is like, this money was going to go towards something to help make sure that doesn't happen. And I thought we already had made that happen.
It's not happening. I mean, I'm looking at the numbers, and we're not billing, if you're doing high grass or some of the code-related items.
Because that's what I thought. I was under the BSNA software that was gonna keep track of that stuff so it didn't get forgotten about.
It will do it if you have a technician or a administrative person putting the information in there. That's really the key to it. And that's not what was happening.
And this will help us
Well,
with
I think
that.
immensely, and it's a conversation that, I've had with Tiger and Dan, is that we maybe, utilize, because in a lot of cases, that's what they're involved with, is code enforcement, fire inspections, those type of things. So needless to say that with the new tech position, or permit tech position, that they have an administrative resource that can follow up on that and make sure that the invoice is sent into the system and reported.
I know there was something about once upon a time years ago, there was some permits being issued and we weren't collecting money and things like that. And that was one of the main reasons I supported that software. So that's where I'm just a little confused, because I thought we were gonna pick that money back up.
Help out there a little bit.
Sure, go ahead.
So some of it's accurate. We're you want to call it getting the low hanging fruit. The zoning permits that we're actually doing right now, we are getting, but there's violations. There's cost recovery things that aren't getting done. Simply do not have the time to get things done. With that permit tech, when they're not doing building permits, not taking in the zoning stuff, not taking code enforcement complaints, there's other jobs for them to do. So again, we're going to utilize that person as the best of our ability that we possibly can.
This ties that up. We're good after that. Thank you.
Any other question for the manager? Go ahead.
No one wants to hear this, but the, under item D, number 2, no water and sewer rate increase until the study is complete. We did have a study done, and there were some basic level increases because there was no increases over a long period of time. At one point, we increased, and then the next year, we voted not to increase that. And my biggest concern is, it sounds like we need to do another study to see where we're at. But the issue I have is, there's no way that study doesn't come back and say that you have to have an increase. But my fear is it's going to be a huge increase because we didn't make the minuscule, small increases. Am I wrong about that, or is there some things I'm missing?
Intuitively, I think you would be right. But what really is different is that when we did the budget, we ended up with almost $600,000 over a $5 million budget surplus with that. Now, it needs to get applied to infrastructure. And what you get with the study is how do you layer that projected infrastructure need with the existing rates. But that's a pretty sizable, and even the consultant acknowledged that that's pretty significant, and I would have thought it would have been a lot higher for not going a couple of years without the rate increase. But that's why I'm a little cautious with it. I don't want, we know how sensitive, nobody wants to pay more if they don't have to. But by the same token, when that comes back, you'll have a better handle on where you are. And you've got a good, healthy balance in the water and sewer fund as well. So in that regard, you can level it out. And I don't know if he presented last time, but having worked with him, he does a nice job of here's what you need as far as, a base amount based on cash flow, working capital, contingencies and those type of things. And then they'll tell you how much really is available of that, roughly 5 million in equity that you have. And then layer that with the future projects and see how that fits with the model as you carry out the revenue collections and the expenses that are anticipated. So, intuitively, you're right. But our circumstances is a little different than once we dug into it than what I thought it would be.
Thank you.
Yeah, at the time that we voted not to increase, there was discussion about the fund balance, and we only missed the 1 year after that report. So it wasn't like, I mean, I'm not expecting a huge recommendation to increase water and sewer rates, but we did that specifically because it was, at the time, there was a lot of not happy people with the public safety millage.
Yeah.
So, and again, the public safety millage, and that's what it's called, was adopted, I believe, in 1950-something, and it was voted by the legislature, by the representatives that you voted in, to allow the cities to assess this millage without the vote of the people, because they voted to do that. Your state representatives and state senators at the time put that law into effect, and they've never repealed it. So that's what it's not illegal for us, because that public act actually allowed us to do that assessment. So,
Any other questions for the manager about the budget? That's what we're on. Mr. Newman.
I've got, one, I guess, comment, transparency. You said we've, with this budget, we've got a $600,000 surplus in the water.
Yeah, water
budget.
fund, yep.
So understanding, we just emergency replaced a $91,000 pump. We have 5 pumps, Stephanie, 4, 5?
3 wells.
Three wells,
Three,
so
yeah.
potentially the other 2 could go bad, and there's 200,000 out of the 600,000 that we've got reserved, and we've got other stuff, we talked about it previous meetings, and stuff, that our infrastructure downtown is 1880s, plumbing. So and Stephanie's doing a great job on grants and getting a lot of this stuff covered, so we're not having, a huge, a bigger problem than what we think we already have, getting hundreds of thousands of dollars in grants for these projects and stuff, so.
Quickly.
Yep, I don't want us to get into a situation like one of our neighboring cities where they had an issue come up. They didn't have the spare money, and they're getting 25% rate increases for the next 3 years. Don't want to see that in Charlotte. So the planning ahead and in the situation we're in, stay on top of it. We're in a lot better shape than those folks are, so that's a good thing.
Okay, mayoral appointments, there is none because we took that stuff off the agenda, so we don't have to worry about that. That was appointments. Brings us back to our final public comment. And you can come up and name and address and speak what you want to talk about.
Nicole Christensen again, Eaton County Commissioner, District 12, and President and founder of Friends of Eaton County Animals. I just wanted to start by saying thank you for approving the resolution 2026-31 for Friends of Eaton County Animals. I will be coming back in another month or so and explaining more about that, but we will be having a second annual wolf stock event at the courthouse lawn, September 26th, so that is the date for that. And I want to thank you all. You guys sit up there and you have a thankless job. Whether it be pros or cons, whether the public agrees with you or doesn't agree with you, it's hard to make the decisions that you make. So thank you for what you do and being here for your people.
Okay.
Dave Barnett, 633 Forest. I just want to say you guys
Thank you for doing a good job on the, talking about a brief synopsis of the creation of the obsolete property rehabilitation district. If you guys just did something like that, like early on in the meeting, like the continuation of the emergency service vehicle thing, you probably wouldn't have got so much comments out of the people, you know? That, you know, explain it, hey, it's just a continuation, it's not an additional thing. Because when you get something like this in the mail, it doesn't explain it. It's not very clear. It didn't say anything about a continuation in here. People just assume that it's an additional 2 mills twice a year. So, like, if you could just, you know, I know in Mason, they talk and they explain things. I've been to tons of those city council meetings. If you guys just did something like that early on, you guys save yourself so much grief. And, you know, you don't have to do a big thing, just a quick synopsis of, hey, this is what this means. Things would go a lot better for you. But thanks for doing that for the rehabilitation district.
Thank you.
Cooper Frost, 436 South Cochrane. We're at a couple points I want to cover. First, in my role at the Planning Commission, thank you for passing or I think the wording is a little questionable in the change, but thank you for your vote on the new zoning. I can't stress enough how monumental of a zoning ordinance and how modern it is. Many of you know I'm involved with Strong Towns, which is an international organization for making a community a more resilient way. Often very boring things like zoning ordinances, parking minimums, accessory building height requirements, things like that, right? The zoning that we have here is monumental. As Tiger pointed out, there are issues with it. Councilmember Brummett, please come to us and tell us what needs to be fixed, because there are things that can be improved upon. It is a living document. It will go forward as such. As far as other things, again, I mentioned Strong Towns. We meet monthly on the second Tuesday of each month, 6:30 p.m. at 218 North Cochrane. I just got back from the national gathering in Fayetteville, Arkansas, where I learned a lot of different things from looking at city budgeting over long term, not just year to year, to see where you're going in the long term. You'll hear more about that from us going forward as a resource, as well as looking at different developmental tools for helping better utilize the property that you have, the city tax base that you have, and things along those sorts. So if anyone's interested in working with us or learning alongside us on that volunteer work, please join us. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name's John. I live at 135 South Cochrane Avenue. I got that letter in the mail too. And it was kind of a shock. I went down to Tennessee and saw my mom and then got back in the mail. Or got back and I read that, and then the meeting was, I think, within a week. You gave about a 10-day notice on something like that. I think more time needs to be necessary to make it practical for other people. But when I started my business when I was 21, my property taxes have gone up nearly double since then. So I'm looking forward for the future, and it's like, what's my kid gonna want someday? Is he gonna want that building where the property tax is gonna be twice as much as they are now? Probably not. So I've heard some things from some people, and I haven't been at a city meeting for I don't know how many years, but I don't believe you understand that you're aware of where every dollar's been entailed to and where it's going to, because there's been significant changes in this building, and they look good. But at the same time, the business owners want to be able to do the same thing to theirs too, without getting bent over or hurt about it, okay? I've done a lot of improvements to my property. And the water, in my opinion, is still not safe to drink. I got a letter in the mail from you guys, the city of Charlotte, saying don't drink the water, you need to boil it first. So I think if you want to set some real priorities, take your $600,000 minus your $91,000, and you've got, what, $529,000? Take that and improve the quality of the water to where you can make it acceptable to drink, okay? When my kid was taking a tub a couple years ago, you fill up the tub, guess what it smells like? The Charlotte Aquatic Center. I'm not saying it's got the same chemicals in there, but it smells like a swimming pool, okay? So I knew right then it's not safe to drink, and also it's been killing my fish. But there's treatments that are to be done for fish. We're not the fish, but make the water safe for us to drink, okay? I said some names here last time. I'm here to serve my clients and my community that comes through my door that wants to patronize my business, that has $20 in their pocket, and they hire me all the time and they fire me all the time. We're all replaceable here. We're all working out there for people that have money, trying to earn a buck or two, okay? But the money's getting tight, and I said it before, you know, if people aren't doing their job, get rid of them, okay? And everybody should be held to that standard too, because we are held to that standard. I do like seeing Stephanie. I really don't know her that well, but she's paving everything, okay? She's doing better than the last person. And that could be the same thing for anybody, to where if they're not doing their job, maybe you can get somebody for cheaper. Maybe they're more. I don't know, but if a lot more is getting done, maybe it's worth it to us for an additional $200 on my taxes 12 months ago. 200, due immediately in 90 days, right? Okay, and then my last tax bill was $90 more, okay? So $290 in a period of 18 months, but it's really more like 15 because it's due, okay? So I don't really appreciate that as a small business owner that makes money haircut by haircut, trying to do things to better my community. I think you guys, I appreciate you guys, your work, but I think you really need to tighten down on every single dollar and put it where it's valuable. In my opinion, it's the roads, it's the parks. Get some drinking fountains at the parks. I see the pavilion going down. I see a new one going up. Great. Most importantly for me, I'd like to see a drinking fountain there with safe water to drink that is somewhat chilled for the kids, okay? That's where you get people coming together in the heart of your community, downtown Charlotte, whether it's across from Praise Funeral Home or anywhere, but give them something to drink around here and give them something they can walk or ride their bikes on, okay? And maybe they're not the right roads now, but I believe we're gonna get there, but they're getting paved, okay? Just keep on paving, give us some safe water. And I heard, not sure where, why we had to have a manager come in, or not sure why we got red flagged. It was because of mismanagement of money. And the state stepped in and said, it's gonna get fixed, or we're gonna X ya, and then we're gonna appoint people in here. And when they come in here, they're just gonna start cutting people down to the bare bones. And I think we really need to think about doing some hard cutting down to bare bones to where Charlotte needs to be at for where we need to go. Because if the money's not adding up for us, and I heard it from a lot of people, and what really got me was hearing about a 92-year-old lady, I was zoomed in, that can't afford it, that is on to 9 months of her annual budget paying her bills around her house. You're not just kicking out younger people, you're kicking out older people too from the increases, dollar by dollar, okay? It adds up. So just be careful with our money. We're not Visa or MasterCard.
Ross Ulrich, 804 West Shepherd Street, Charlotte, Michigan. First of all, I want to thank you all. I'm better prepared, and I think I understand better now. Secondly, my sympathies to Councilmember Brummett for the loss of his father. One thing, I actually have two small items I should cover very quickly. In the letter, it says, City Council initiated the process to finance the following municipal operations, annual capital equipment and operating costs in support of police, fire, and ambulance operations. So what I've been told tonight, where the shortfall exists, is with the paying of pensions. So did the city pay for the pensions as required by the state? And this is to make up what would have been used had that not been required? That's my first question. I need a one of these or one of these, because it's still really not very clear to me.
We'll get to it after, when we get to the comments.
Okay.
We'll remember it.
Okay. Second item is, what's it going to cost me? So 2 mills for the July on a $100,000 property, what's that going to cost me? Please. Any? $200. Okay, thanks. Then I am happy as a clam, and I'll wait for the explanation. Thanks.
Caleb Mason, once again, 116 South Clinton Street. So my understanding through the whole thing, which would have saved me about 3 hours and 10 minutes, this is just a continuation. So as he had said earlier, like the wording, I came home from my vacation, I looked at this and go, oh, great. You know, as you said, like your taxes went up over the last year a couple different times. I'm like, well, why is it going up another 2? And I remember the meeting 4 years ago when we were talking about the misappropriation of all the legacy, you call it, right? All the legacies. And I'm like, okay, well, I get now we're paying for that. And that's nothing new. I mean, we've looked at that through our government and at the executive levels, the judiciary, all the different stuff at our federal government. You know, Social Security, everybody keeps saying it's going to be gone in 20 years. Well, they've been saying that for a while too, but they're figuring out where to tax us to make sure they still have the money to contain and make sure they keep paying out stuff. I sat down with my father-in-law earlier today, and they're taking $240 out of his Social Security a month. Just gave him a notice, and they're doubling it up on the first month. So, hey, by the way, this month it's going to be $400, and the next month it's going to be another $270. So I do know that when you're paying all of your stuff out of Social Security, that's tight. The legacy stuff, understandable. But yeah, it would have saved us a couple hours if we didn't knew that it was just a continuation, because shoot, I've been living in houses for 40 years now, and the continuations happen. But when I read something that it says that this is being assessed, to me it says new. So just going on the pity back of what he said is, just make sure that wording is all good, because I think that was probably why half the people who stood up and left, because they thought it was an increase. And that's why last time I was here, when it was a water thing 3 years ago, I saw people that were getting doubled water bills already. And I came from Grand Ledge, where I thought my water bills were high there. And then I'm like, I'm paying more here. So, but anyway, so thank you very much for telling us all that stuff. Unfortunately, I was about 2.5 hours in where we found out that this was just a continuation. So, but thank you very much.
Anyone else from the audience for public comment? So we'll check online.
We have Jody.
Okay, Jody Pruden, go ahead.
309 East Shepherd. And I just want to say, as far as the abatement for the apartments going in above the businesses, I think that's a great idea. However, I would want to encourage that we make sure that those are completely up to date and completely ADA compatible, so that the people who get those places, it isn't keeping certain ones out of there. So I hope we don't grandfather some things in that maybe shouldn't be. And I think that will make it even better and more worth the abatement that we would be giving to them to do their upgrading and making new places available. And I just want to say thank you to all of you, because I know that you can say things and say things and say things, but if people do not hear them or listen to them, they are going to have to be reiterated like it was tonight, and you guys did a great job. So thanks again. Your transparency has improved so much. Changes in the council have taken place, and things got better. Then we had some little upsets, and the transparency now is it's awesome. And I think that we have good checks and balances, and everybody is treating everybody respectful. And the changes that have happened may not have been seen by everybody, but those of us who have been watching and participating for quite some time will know that that is the case. So thank you again.
Okay, thank you, Jody. Anything else?
Then we have Amanda.
Amanda, go ahead.
Hello?
Hello, go ahead.
First, I just want to, first, my name is Amanda Lipsey. I live at 160 West Broadway Highway. I also own a business in downtown Charlotte for about 18 years now. First, I just want to say thank you to Jeff Christensen. I want to thank you for always standing by your word. From the time that you got on council, from the time I voted you on to council, you have never once wavered. You've never changed your mind, and you've always stood by your word. And I can just say that you are literally the only council member that I have ever seen do that. A lot of them can be swayed and a lot of them change their mind. And I just really want to thank you for always, always doing what you say you will do and for never changing your vote because somebody else bullied you into doing it. So thank you. I know that we're not voting on the special assessment, but I do want to say something about that. You know, as my mom used to tell me, it's not what you say, it's how you say it. And I think the same goes for this. For those of you who remember when the special assessment went through, it was kind of the same thing. It wasn't about paying the money, it was how you went about it. You gave people very little time to plan for it, and it was a snatch and grab. Now, it almost feels like you're trying to gaslight us into making us feel like we're the problem for questioning it, that we're the problem for having a problem with the way that it was done. It's not even so much about the money. It's just simply when you talk to people about it, it's how it happened. You want to talk about, you had mentioned about it being illegal. I'm going to read something to you. I've read it to you before, but I'll read it again. This is from April 29, 2018 in the city of Howell, Michigan. It says, the city of Howell has proposed use of an obscure public safety assessment, Act 33 of 1951. It's a process to balance the city budget for police protection is illegal. Replace police with fire and rescue. A special public safety assessment cannot be used to sustain a government function, yet the city has clearly admitted they plan to defund the police, or in our situation, the fire and safety. They plan to defund the police to pay for other services in debt, then replace the money with an illegal special assessment. That is where that is coming from. In speaking to the tax tribunal, I'm just curious how confident you are that this is a legal special assessment. Because in speaking to the tax tribunal, they state, all we have to do is overturn one address. Take it to court, overturn one address, and the city of Charlotte would be responsible for repaying all of the money that they took for this special assessment. So all I'm saying is that I really, truly hope that this is not illegal, because all you're going to do is put us in a very, very tough situation going forward. And I just want to remind you that it's okay if we're upset about how it went down. It was done in such a snatch and grab way. There could have been communication. I mean, look how many people are talking about the last minute emails or the last minute mailings to our mailboxes about this stuff. We find out about stuff so last minute. And I think that it would just alleviate so much anger and so much frustration if you could just get this information out a little bit sooner. I think that special assessment got discussed, it was like April or May, and everybody was due on their summer taxes. It was the way that it went about. So being mad at us or being disgruntled sounding up there, the two city council members who are kind of like chewing us out for questioning it, it's because of the way it was done. It's not so much about the money. Thank you.
Thank you.
No one else.
No one else? Okay, we'll close the public comment. Go to staff comments.
Dan, Stephanie, you're timing me, so I'll make it quick. Mr. Whitkoff's gone, but gave us a good idea, though. We'll speak with the manager about doing a presentation on a less busy night by far for about the fire department, but good information and two things that kind of come to mind by doing that. I know Cooper spoke about ISO, and that was covered some, but always take the opportunity to pitch it out there. ISO is Insurance Service Office, and again, it's a premium, or how your premium is looked upon, or how it's charged by an insurance company. Not all insurance companies actually follow the ISO, but you should check with yours. The city of Shalott is actually a 3, which is within the 10% of all Michigan fire departments. Pretty low when you're speaking about the entire state. So very low there, but if your insurance company doesn't know that or they don't follow it, they're charging you extra. So take advantage of that, look into it. Last thing, obviously, we got severe weather season here upon us, and a lot of questions sometimes come from the outdoor warning sirens, also known as the tornado sirens. But they're outdoor warning sirens. They're not meant to be heard inside the house, down in the basement, wherever you're at. They're made to alert people that are outside that may not have a cell phone with them. Obviously, they've been around well before cell phones, but the idea is that we alert people, and there's 4 of them in the city, as well as one out at Crandall Lake that we take direct responsibility. So just even though it was not a tornado warning last week, it was a destructive thunderstorm with 80-mile-an-hour winds potential, we actually tripped the tornado sirens to alert people. And again, that's the ones that are outside that don't have their phones necessarily with them. So with that, always take the opportunity to pass on some information, so thank you.
No other staff? Brings us to the mayor and council comments. Mr. Scott.
Yeah, I have 3. Basically, I'm leaving town after all this for the next 2 weeks. So, but otherwise, I do have office hours every Tuesday morning between 10 and noon at Phase, and I'm always available for any of these conversations. I want you to know that while you guys were commenting, what I'm writing down here is how desperately we need a town hall meeting where we can actually have these conversations before we have these incidents. So we're working on it. It's another thing that we have to start. Thank you for coming, though. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for your comments. A couple quick things. This month, I attended a housing forum given by the state. Councilman Curtis and I have been working on the housing situation for about a year now. And some of the changes, like the building inspection coming back, and the new zoning ordinance are some of the things that we are hoping to have in order to really respond to the developers and home builders that talked about, and we held a forum for them in which they told us these are the things that are stopping us from being interested in Charlotte. So we've been working with them, looking at different funding for the creation of what we call workforce housing. Workforce housing, the definition is to have housing that's affordable to our regular laborers and people that are working, because we do have 3 businesses in town, Shift Group, the Can Company, and the new company that out of Canada that selected Charlotte to bring in. They do plastic molding and injection molding for vehicles as well as for appliances, et cetera. So, and they're looking at those 3 companies, 300 to 400 new jobs. And we want to be able to keep some of those folks that are working to stay in town. But unless we come up with a more affordable housing, they're going to go elsewhere from that standpoint. We've talked about a communication plan ever since I got on council, and also to figure out how best to communicate with our citizens. And I keep pushing, and hopefully in this budget we'll figure out a way to really have somebody that comes in and is able to write and clearly communicate out to our citizens some things that are happening, and really becoming even more transparent. And we've redid our website. Hopefully it's a little bit easier to find information. We do have social media pages, but again, it's how you communicate the message that's going to be important from that standpoint. The suggestion GPS, I once managed a division of vehicle truck deliveries for the state of Michigan, and we, through a grant, received enough money to put GPS systems on all our vehicles that we managed, and believe me, it resulted in savings by being able to route our vehicles and utilize that system to track and make sure that people are going where they were supposed to go from that standpoint. So there is some benefit to that from that standpoint. So again, thank you for coming, and hopefully down the road we can establish and get a town hall going to have more conversation with you. Thank you.
Mr. Rodriguez.
Thank you. Just a couple things. Our city intakes only a certain amount of income, and we have to then be able to provide all the different services. So, maybe it's easy to say, well, the MERS obligations are 1.3 billion, and so that has to go out, and so we need something to cover that. At the end of the day, we have endless things that have to be covered, and if you can't cover it, then you have to cut it all. And the bottom line is, you can't cut these things. If you really think you can look at the budget and do it, I welcome you to meet with me and show me where you think you can do it. I welcome it. I don't think you'll be able to do it. I've been here a long time. I do want to speak to something I think is important, and that is around communicating and information. This is a report from January of this year. It's from our previous city manager, and it references a meeting from October 1st, 2025. October 1st. The city manager recommends the creation of a special assessment district to support certain emergency vehicles and emergency services expenses for the city of Charlotte. This would replace the city and fire SAD. This information was there. Now, we can ask the question if we can improve our ability to communicate this. But the way we communicate is through meetings, through these documents. If you, every month, just look at the agenda and just kind of grab it, print it out, you can see it at home, go to the website and just look over. Here's the main things that your elected officials are working on. And you will see those things. They are there. There's so many things that our city officials are doing. If they posted every little thing on Facebook that we're doing, it would just, they wouldn't be doing anything else. Now, I understand this is very important. And so you might say to me, yeah, how about you just put the important stuff. But I'm telling you, it's there. This is October 1st, 2025. We've had many meetings on this. We had hearings on this. This is another document from January 23rd. I can show you it's there. But when I wasn't in this seat, I can tell you, I thought a lot like the people who are talking. And once you get here or you're in the meetings, you really learn a lot more. But I understand we have lives, we have businesses, we can't do that. The best way to do it is every month, just look at the agendas. Just see what are they talking about that I might need to look at, because that will take you 5-10 minutes. You really will be in the know. And if there's something you don't know, you call me and say, what in the world does this mean on your agenda from a month ago? And I will tell you what it means. If I don't remember, we'll find out. But I can't think of a better way to do it. Maybe we need to send out more mailers and more notices. And, that goes against the whole grain. You just said, well, we need to cut things. Well, we're doing all the legally requirements, and we are having well in advance conversations. So I think we're doing a good job. I would really challenge someone to suggest that we're not doing a good job, and bring it with evidence. Back it up that we didn't notify. That's it, thanks.
Mr. Rummett.
Okay, so I wrote a few notes, which I don't always do well. Continuation, the continuation of the special assessment. As it was stated, there was many of us that weren't in these positions, and then people who have decided that they'll try to help to make things better by sitting before you. The continuation, if we could have stated, if we could have had a moment to be able to speak to you at the beginning of the meeting to tell you that the letter that you had, we appreciate that you've came out, or you've decided to become part of the meeting through the digital era that we have, which, mind you, is a luxury and not a requirement. I don't know if everyone's aware, but Zoom and our other ways of broadcasting the meeting are not required, even during the changes that occurred years ago. So the continuation, I would have loved for all of you to know that. However, we wouldn't have had the audience we had, so I appreciate the fact that you've stuck around. But it is true, and it's been stated numerous times over the last couple of months that this was going to be a continuation and not an additional one. The letter, although we didn't draft that as council, may not have said that, but at the same time, had a person chosen to reach out to those that we pay as city residents, such as the city manager or even the clerk, we would have been able to clarify that. As I stated earlier, my phone number, I could have told you that. I would have been willing to tell you that. I would have clarified that. However, I wouldn't have seen your smiling faces at this meeting or had you seeing me via the virtual aspect. Source of your information. The source of your information, and I do believe the reason that we have so few people in this meeting and would love to see more, this chamber can fit many, many more people than are here, is because most of those who even may be opposed to me saying this are finding their information via social media. If that's where you're getting your information, you are being misinformed. I sit before you because that is required. I can't call in virtually and be a member of this council. Because I cannot, social media is a downfall of those who want to be involved with those that they elect and or pay to sit in these positions. However, being it's a very small income. So I say that the fact that social media allows you to see that our DPW does some outstanding things on a regular basis. They post pictures of what they do and the fact that they actually are earning their dollars. You can see other examples of that, and maybe in the future, if we have those people that were stated earlier, we will have opportunities for you to know what stellar things our city manager has done or what has happened within our fire department, which you can find now on a weekly basis, the types of things that they do, putting their life on the line for you, the taxpayers. So social media has its benefits, but it also mimics the telephone game. When and if somebody who does not live in the city becomes a member of those pages that you're going on, you're hearing of people who have chosen not to be a resident. They're saying, now I live in Florida, and for whatever reason they choose to live there. Well, I live in the city of Charlotte representing you to the best of my ability. When I waver sometimes, such as when the zoning ordinance was brought up, I do not believe the way that we dictated the accessory structures. However, when I voted to go ahead and move forward, I could go ahead and keep this at stalemate. It is an option we have with having a body of 7. At any given time, we can vote things down and just stay stagnant, not moving forward, but we should be progressing. We should be a place that when we find new adventures and new avenues of change in a positive sense. So it's been brought up specifically by at least one council member in the past. You will have an opportunity in November. Anyone who decides that they want the thankless position that we represent, wants to become a member for a continuation of at least 2 years or more, go ahead. Vote somebody else into the position. You'll see we might as well be governing with scrambled eggs because we're coming gelled. We're becoming actually one. We're making decisions on the behalf of you, listening to the best of our ability, tough decisions at times. Those tough decisions, though, we would have to pay for too. It's not like we're exempt from the taxes that we levy against you or the special assessments such as. But the thing is that if you think there's better people up here, that's fine, but it'll take them a while to be able to be one, to make decisions without fighting, without having a 4-3 or some kind of vote such as that. So yeah, you have that option in November, and if you hold
property in the city and you are able to vote, you can go ahead and make that choice. And anyone who puts their neck out there and wants to fill this position definitely probably understands it or thinks they're better than those that are up here now. One more thing, as it comes to the notifications. Unfortunately, a lot of this information is not available to be disclosed to those that get mailings and or some other type of communication prior. We don't get our packet until Friday for a meeting on a given Monday. This week, we got the bonus. We got a little extra time to be able to discuss this stuff, find answers to things, struggle with those challenges of what is and a good decision for the longevity of those little people, because on behalf of those little people, that's why I sit here, in hopes that we can build a better city than we have now, in hopes that we can continue the awesome things that we've had that I've called home for as many years as I have. But the truth of the matter, we are limited on the amount of timing. So 10 days, you'll actually have to see that as a bonus, because sometimes we only get 4 days. Sometimes we get less than that to make a determination, or sometimes a pump goes out and they need to fix it in order to make that water. That may smell like chlorine, but the truth of the matter is, put a little drop of chlorine and 1,000 gallons of water will smell like chlorine. So it doesn't take very much chlorine to make that smell. It doesn't make it unsafe. You might not think it smells good. Buy some of this stuff then, you know. High Dollar doesn't smell like chlorine, but it's just the same kind of water, in my opinion. And I'll test the two of them if we have to. That's the end of my time.
Mr. Newman. Wow, that's enough.
I think I'm just going to say thanks for coming and joining online.
First off, thank you for all of you that attended tonight. A couple weeks from now, when we have our next meeting, I hope to see all your faces and bring a couple friends with you. We'd like to see that every couple weeks. I would love to see this room just elbow to elbow. We're all certainly concerned about our city, and it makes it a lot easier for myself, and I don't speak for the rest, but I believe it's easier when we are getting support from you. I mean, before I ran for council 2.5 years ago, I seen the things that went on before. The efforts that this council has made for transparency, communication. We invested in a new website. You can get messages across to your phone and text. You can sign up for that right on the website. I don't know how many more ways we can try to reach out and communicate any better, other than maybe we all start knocking on everyone's doors. And if I could, I would, but I just can't get around to everyone in District 1. But anyways, for those of you online, thank you for being here as well. Just a quick notice, because it is a short time frame. We've had some storms around. We know there's a lot of brush, trees, that down. Our wonderful DPW, starting today, tomorrow, and Thursday, they're going to be driving around town. So if you've got any sticks, wood pieces, whatever, 4 foot or less, set them out. They will get them picked up for you. They also are on Facebook. So jump on their page, check it out. If there's going to be a street closure, if there's going to be anything, they have it out in advance. So they've done a real good job trying to communicate with everyone. Let's see. I'm like Mr. Brummett. I would love to set regular times to meet with everyone, but I know everyone's schedule's a little crazy, and so is ours. Our phone rings at all hours, day and night, between being married to a county commissioner, getting calls from 911 about missing dogs and found dogs is a little crazy, but that's what we do, that's what we signed up for, and that's what we love. 616-822-0204. It's on the city website. My email address is on there as well. I live right on East Shaw. I'm not hard to find. If there's anything I can ever do for those I represent, do not hesitate to stop me. Grab me by the shoulder. Just call me anything in the book. Don't call me late for supper, and we'll be fine. Third, I just want to make some comments with regards to the Memorial Day Parade and the Remembrance Ceremony. I could not believe how many people we had downtown throughout this parade route and on Courthouse Square. Very, very nice to see. I also, for those of you citizens who reached out and made a donation for a Buddy Poppy, thank you. Every bit of money that they collect on those Buddy Poppies stays local and is used for veteran concerns. So I know they certainly appreciate that as well. Thank you to VFW, the American Legion. Also, the American Legion hosted a wonderful luncheon after the ceremony and prayed. Courtney at Courthouse Square did an amazing job. I don't know if you've been over to Courthouse Square, but things are looking pretty spiffy. That new elevator is open and running. They are ready for business all the time. The Charlotte High School Marching Band. They were amazing. They showed up in Potterville school buses because our school district didn't seem to think it was necessary or a concern of them to get our band members down here. So thanks for those that made that happen. And when everyone was kind of wondering, their uniforms were soaked. They had tar from the roof on their uniforms. And they improvised, they overcame, they all showed up in matching t-shirts and did one heck of a job. So kudos to them and their band director. The Boy Scouts, Charlotte Police Department, Fire Department, Friends of Eaton County Animals. Very nice parade. I'd like to see a lot bigger next year, for sure. Let's see, number 5. A lot of talk with budgets and stuff, and you know, people wanting us to tighten our belts, but everyone knows the condition of the infrastructure in this city, and it's horrible. That can was kicked down way before many of us ever thought about being a councilman. And we're trying, we're doing our best, but I actually had a meeting with Representative Barrett's legislative aide today. Our city happens to be sort of unique because it has 2 state trunk lines running through it, M79, M50. It also has the Interstate 69 business loop running through it, all major truck corridors. We cannot make them trucks go anywhere else. If they want to run here, that's where they run. But there's been some legislation that's being proposed, and it's going to increase weight limits from 80,000 to 91,000 pounds. They want to add a 6th axle. So when you see those trucks making them turns downtown and they're just dragging across our pavement, but they want to do all this with no additional funding. Nothing to the local governments, nothing to the county governments. It's hard for us to keep up with infrastructure that's being torn apart at the will of the federal government, and there's nothing we can do about it, folks. We just have to sit here and do the best we can. So I had about a 45-minute argument with them today, and Representative Barrett supported 2 of the 3 items on there, and I encouraged him. I hope when it comes up again that he reconsiders, being this is his hometown of Register, and I think we deserve better from our United States rep when it comes to our city. So I did reach out and ask for that. And let's see, one more. Where is it? Have a great night. Thank you.
So 6 people talked for over 40 minutes and they haven't answered your question yet, have they?
I didn't hear the answer.
The pension that got the city in trouble years ago, and I've been here for 50 years. So the pension for the city used to be overfunded, like 110, 120% funded. So when they thought they had money, not this council, none of these people here, they decided that they would give one of the departments of the city a 3.0 multiplier. That's how much pension you're going to get. It's huge compared to a 2.5 multiplier. They did it. Then there was an exodus of a lot of those people in that department, which cost the city tons of money because they weren't working the extra 7 years that they had to. They had this 3.0 multiplier. They were making the big bucks. So they got out. And our pension went from 110 or 20, when we used to get a check back from MERS to the city saying, here's your check back because you were overly funded. It went down to less than 40% at one time. 40% funded. The state requires 60, and we struggled to get back to 60. So we, the city, did it to ourselves. And now we, the city, are fixing what we've got to fix. And that's what, when we talk about pension, it's $1.7 or $8 million a year to try to make up for the people that retired with a 3.0 multiplier. That's the truth. And there is no fix to that, and he did say it. We have to pay that. If we took in tax dollars and we only took in 1.8 million, it would all go to the pension. Or they'd put us out of business. That's how it goes. And so that's where the special assessment came up. They started with we're going to spend 90-some% of the fire fund, and nobody knew what was even being spent for. Now we have a list of what that special assessment is going to be paid for. It's on, everybody knows, you can look and see what it is. That's what the money's going for. It's not going to the pension. The pension has to come out of the general fund. There you go.
It really doesn't say that in the letter. Thank you again. I'm so much better informed, really.
Okay. With that, I'm not going to comment on anything because I don't want to take any more than the 2 minutes I did. We're supposed to
Move we adjourn.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.